evening. It's nice that we have an audience tonight. We always appreciate you guys coming in and being with us. So I'm going to bring us back from closed session. It is 6 p.m. And we do have a couple things to report out on. We had a couple student matters. The first one was regarding student number 23-023. And it is about having this person re-enter our school system after an expulsion. Was it an expulsion? So we took a vote, 5-0. Yes, they can come back. Secondly, we have another one on student number 23-025. I wish I had that other piece of paper that it was written on. It's also like the first one. We heard the information, we voted, it was a 5-0 vote. So that person could be readmitted. Yeah, the first and second was CC and Mark, or Mark and CC. And the second one was CC and Mark. They just switched. No worries. All right, so moving on. Next part is the announcement. This meeting is recorded for live streaming and archiving on the district YouTube channel. It's for your convenience, so it's always there for you. Next up is our pledge. And I know Dr. Moss did this last time, but I'm going to ask you to do it again because it's your last time. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's different being on floors like this. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It is a little different. All right, we're on item number 5. Can I get an approval of the agenda as written?
I move that we approve the agenda as written.
Thank you, Mr. Maselli. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. And roll call, please?
President Seda?
Yes.
Trustee Grubbs?
Yes.
Trustee Moss?
Here.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Hirsch?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we now have no highlight this evening, so we're going to go into I guess we're going into the reorganization already? Oh, well, it's all, yes. We're gonna be talking about you, Dr. Moss. Please.
All right, good evening. At this time, this is tough. Dr. Moss, I just want to thank you for your dedicated service to our district and our community. You've really been an inspiration to us all. I know I met you several years ago when you were a leader at the County Office of Education and a proud parent of BUSD students. Your presence was very impactful back then, but I really enjoyed watching your growth over the years. I want to thank you for being a role model, especially for young women and women of color, demonstrating that they can actively engage in government and make meaningful difference in our community. Your passion for equity, inclusion, curriculum development has strengthened our organization in countless ways. I value your candidness, your sense of humor, and your ability to remain empathetic in the most challenging moments. You're really a true leader, and you'll be greatly missed. With that said, don't stray too far because we got some committees with your name on it.
Yeah.
And on a personal note, please don't stop recommending those restaurants because you've been spot on every time. And I know some of our governing board members would like to share some kind words.
I want to say thank you for serving with us. It's been a pleasure working with you. You brought a lot of knowledge and information to us that helps us make decisions. That helps us make decisions as a whole. So you know, you've been great, and we are going to miss you. So, thank you.
Dr. Moss, you have brought so much to the board, and you've helped me along in my journey as well. And I would like to thank you for all the insights that we sometimes miss, and your dedication to the kids in our school district and to kids in general. And you are such a role model, as Sherry said, to young women, or maybe it was Damon, Dr. Wright. I really appreciate your humor a lot. But you will be missed. I hope you don't go too far.
I'll be close by.
So thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else?
I really appreciated being able to work with you, and we were able to talk about a lot of things. I appreciate your openness and how you were a champion for the kids and the teachers and everybody in this district. Thank you.
And I'm gonna miss you. I'm happy to say that when you came onto the local political scene in 2018, I thought, I like this lady. And I knew you'd be good then, and I was right. You were excellent. I didn't get very long to serve with you. I'm so thankful for that time, and I really appreciate your openness and your accessibility, and you're really easy to talk to and have great conversations with, and you've always brought just a great perspective to the board, and we will really miss you. And I'm hoping that now, if you're not here, this means you and I can hang out and not feel too constrained by the Brown Act. So we'll very much miss you and appreciate you.
And Georgina, is Miss Wendy Fabian here today? Oh, hi. Hi. If you can come up to the podium, yes, please.
Wendy is the field representative for Assemblymember Lori Wilson and former Senator Bill Dodd. And she has a presentation for Dr. Moss.
Okay, I won't read the whole thing. Per Dr. Moss's request. Here, I'll unbox it. I'm sorry, everyone. I just came from a day-long meeting. Okay. So, good evening, actually. My name is Wendy. I'm one of the field representatives for Assemblymember Lori Wilson, and I am absolutely honored to be here on Assemblymember Lori Wilson's behalf tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure working alongside you as representatives for, our state legislative reps, Assemblymember Lori Wilson and Senator Bill Dodd. And I'm happy to learn that you'll be staying on with Senator Cabaldon, so I look forward to continuing working alongside you. It's been an absolute privilege. And like I mentioned, it's an honor for me to be here to recognize you on your last meeting as trustee for the Benicia Unified School District. I personally wish you all the best on your future committee assignments that you might be taking on, as I hear. But I wanted to share a couple of words from Assemblymember Wilson. And she shared that she'd like to take a moment to acknowledge Dr. Moss for her outstanding service on the Benicia Unified School District Board. Throughout her tenure, we know that she has consistently demonstrated a strong commitment to advocating for all of our students and teachers, as we heard many of you say tonight, ensuring that each voice was heard and valued. Dr. Moss, trustee Dr. Moss, was not only well-liked by everyone that she worked with, but she also left a lasting positive impact on all of the boards that she's served on. Her ability to build strong collaborative relationships has fostered an environment of mutual respect and trust. Her comprehensive knowledge of the education systems has been invaluable, and her expertise has played a critical role in guiding the district towards effective decision-making and positive outcomes for the entire Benicia community, as well as Assembly District 11. Above all, Dr. Moss consistently valued equity and inclusion, striving to create an environment where every student, teacher, and community member has felt seen, heard, and supported. We are grateful for her dedication to the significant and the significant contributions she has made to the Benicia Unified School District. Thank you, Trustee Dr. Moss, for your time, your energy, and your unwavering commitment to the success of the Benicia Unified School District. We wish you the absolute best on all of your future endeavors. So no reading. Okay, and so this resolution from the state, it's really nice here. I'll show it to everyone. It is from Assemblymember Lori Wilson and Senator Bill Dodd, and so we'll put it back in the box and make sure you take that with you tonight.
We'll get a picture.
We can take some pictures with the resolution.
And, yeah. And Ms. Fabian, you don't have to stay if you don't want to, or you could stay for the whole meeting. But okay, that'd be great.
We're having cake.
Thanks for being here. So, oh, I do get to use the app.
Do I get to say happy words now?
Sure.
Or do you want me to? Oh, gosh, okay. I had to, I wrote a few words down because I wanted to make sure I remembered things and then not get too emotionally overwhelmed with everything that's happening right now. And I do want to say thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to serve our community. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve as School Board Trustee Area 3 for Benicia Unified School District. It has been an exciting and learning journey. I ran in 2018. I had a later start, but I did make an effort to reach out to people and have conversations, even though I knew that they were already supporting other candidates. I felt like that was really important to do. I learned that sometimes no is just not yet. While I did not succeed in the 2018 election, I was later appointed in 2019. I have to say thank you to former trustees Diane Ferrucci, Stacy Hoagwin, and our current trustees, Mark Maselli and Sherry Zeta, because they went through this grueling process of combing through applications and finally narrowing down this public interview process to me and 3 other people, and I succeeded. Then fast forward, COVID-19 hit, and all of our schools were faced with hurdles of remote learning and teaching and challenges of technology and access, and now learning loss. It takes courage to be in this position. We face many challenges. However, when you have a group of individual thinkers who aren't afraid to engage in discourse, you find solutions. While we do not always agree, we understand that we are still one board, no matter how the vote is tallied. The final decision stands as one decision, whether we all agreed or not. We led and still lead with integrity and the understanding and respect for democracy and the board governance. As a board, we were able to keep the budget on track, hire a phenomenal new superintendent who makes every effort possible to keep the lines of communication open while addressing the many challenges that have surfaced along the way. I am hopeful and confident that he will continue to make decisions that are best for our students, staff, and community, along with our board. We were able to establish a working strategic plan for the district. We put a great deal of effort has been put in place to ensure that the practices of the Benicia Unified School District are inclusive of all students. And also by including and funding programs such as the Willie B. Atkins Scholars Program, we aren't only talking about it, we are putting systems in place to support the success for all of our students. I felt very honored to serve as a retired educator and parent of 2 students who went through the schools in our district. I was able to bring my lived experiences and professional expertise to our board. I wish you all well in your future endeavors, and no, I will not be far. As Wendy shared, I will be, of course, with our Senator of District 3, Senator Christopher Cabaldon, so I'm really happy about that. Our mayor did also appoint me as a commissioner for the Solano County Commission for Women and Girls, so of course, I'll still be actively engaged in our community and supporting. So again, I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate all of the support and all of the efforts that you put in to do this position. So thank you.
And Dr. Moss, we have a couple of gifts for you. The first thing we want to present you with is a box and a thank you for your service on behalf of the Benicia Unified School District. And then we also have a beautiful clock over there with the cake. So thank you again.
Okay, so at this time, I'm going to close the meeting for about 10 minutes so we can celebrate with Dr. Moss. We have cake and water, and it'd be really nice for us to spend this time. So I'm going to close this out.
Can we
What?
do the oath first before we do the intermission?
Oh,
We could follow the
sure,
agenda?
sure,
Yeah, I gotta follow the agenda.
sure.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay. In November, two of our trustee seats, area seats were open for election. Trustee Area 2, currently held by C.C. Grubbs, was uncontested, and she reclaimed her seat. Trustee Area 3, which was vacated by Dr. Moss, has been filled by Yanni Manassi. Congratulations to both trustees. We're excited to continue working to create a positive change for our organization. To facilitate the oath of office and officially welcome our trustees, please join me in welcoming Ms. Lisette Estrella Henderson, Superintendent of Schools for the Solano County Office of Education.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, Semi, a friend for many, many years, and I'm absolutely thrilled, and congratulations, and so exciting to hear that you'll be working with the Senator's office. I'm very proud of you. Congratulations. It is my honor and privilege to be here this evening to administer the oath of office to your two new trustees, well, your one continuing trustee and your new trustee. And I find that it is one of the greatest privileges and responsibilities to administer the oath of office. And it's a huge civic responsibility that each of you takes on, and you take it very seriously. And so it really is an honor and a privilege to administer the oath of office to continuing trustee C.C. Grubbs and your newest trustee, Yanni Manassi. So I will ask you both to please come up. And I will ask you to raise your right hand. And we always use our left hand so that as educators, the person who's seeing you, like, oh yeah, that's in my hand, right? But I have to remember that. Raise your right hand. And you will repeat after me the oath of office. And I will ask you, beginning to, I will say I and then state your name, and then we'll continue. Okay? Very good. Okay, so I, C.C. Grubbs, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely and without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will and faithfully
and that I will and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties
Upon
upon which I am about to enter.
Wonderful. With the authority granted to me by the Constitution of the State of California, I proclaim you duly elected and appointed and installed to assume the duties as a member of the governing board of the Benicia Unified School District. Yenny representing trustee area 3 and Cece representing area trustee 2. Congratulations.
So at this time, we're going to adjourn the meeting. I get to use the gavel one last time. At 6:21, and 10 minutes, we'll come back and reconvene. Thank you. Thank you so much for going back to your seats. I hope everybody enjoyed some cake. I'm going to bring us back at 6:34. And at this time, we are, where am I? This is going to be a long meeting, so everybody needs to have a little patience with us during this. First thing we're going to be doing is our annual organization of the Board of Education Officers. So at this time, I'm going to put it out there to all of you, because we get to vote on who, or we get to not appoint, but suggest who you would like to see as president. So if I could get
Actually, before we do that, can we just take a moment? We just want to take the opportunity to express our appreciation and gratitude for you, Sherry, for serving as our president for, the past 4 years. Your leadership's been instrumental in guiding us through some challenging times, supporting the district, staff, students, and programs. You're a very recognizable figure in our community. We just really appreciate, and personally, I appreciate our regular check-ins that we do as we're building a board agenda, collaboration to really move our district forward. So just thank you for your commitment. And I just wanted to take the time to say thank you for everything for the last 4 years.
And we have a wonderful gift for you that didn't show, that will be here tomorrow, so I will bring it to your house.
I won't be home. I'm going to be on a plane first thing in the morning.
I will hold it for you until
Thank
you
you.
get back.
Oh, thank you so much, you guys. That was
Yes.
thoughtful. And I didn't expect you to make a speech, so I'm kind of taken back. But those are beautiful words, and I've enjoyed all the time serving in this position for our school district on the governing board. So thank you. So now can I go forward?
You can move forward.
Okay. That's true. Dr. Wright?
Thank you. So our governing board bylaw 9121 states that the governing board shall elect a president amongst its members to provide leadership on behalf of the governance team and the educational community that it serves. It also states that the current clerk, if able and interested, shall serve as president for a term. So, and I think we all have a sheet on our desk that outlines the responsibility of the president, which essentially is to run the governance and adhere to the Brown Act during meetings, and also work with the superintendent to build the agenda. As our current clerk, I reach out to Trustee Grubbs to see if you would like to be considered for the role of the BUSD Governing Board President. Okay, yes. So, and if that is a consideration, I think we would need a motion and a second to move forward.
I move that we elect Cece Grubbs as school board president.
I will second that. Thank you for stepping up and doing this with us.
Don't we have to vote?
Yes, but okay. All in favor?
Is this a
I'm
roll
going to
call?
do a roll call.
Roll call vote.
President Zeta.
Yes.
Trustee Grubbs.
Yes.
Trustee Manassi.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Hirsch.
Yes.
Thank you.
So can I just say one thing? And that is Sherry Zeta.
Don't make me cry.
Those are big shoes to fill. You are so active and you go to so many things and you're so knowledgeable and you are so committed to our students and staff. And I want to thank you for mentoring me along and helping me and hopefully helping me through as we go through.
You bet.
All
Thank you,
the
Sherry.
time. You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
those beautiful
friend.
words.
Okay, next up, for BUSD clerk, duties include maintaining records, signing documents on behalf of the district as directed by the board, and also serving as a proceeding officer in the absence of the president. From our 4 remaining trustees, is there anyone that would like to be considered for the position of clerk?
I was going to nominate someone.
Okay,
I'd like to nominate Mark Maselli to be the clerk of the board.
I would do that.
There would need to be a second.
I'll second that. I'll second that.
Yeah, how does that work? I mean, I'd like to be considered, but I guess,
Then you should put your.
oh, I didn't get a chance to
Oh,
say
I'm
anything.
sorry.
So, yeah,
Sorry.
no, I would love to be considered for clerk.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I can keep records, sign documents, and run meetings in Cece's absence.
Well, we appreciate you putting your
Yes.
foot forward there.
Thank you.
Thank you. We didn't mean to step on it. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
It was me, I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm
So at
nervous.
this time, we need a motion, well, I guess we need to take a, how do we do that?
So we discussed,
Tactfully.
right?
It should be a discussion. Perhaps you can talk about why you want to be clerk, what attributes you can bring, and then we can do another motion. Someone can make a motion to nominate someone for the position.
Okay. So let's discuss, guys. What are your thoughts on the two board members that would like to take the position of clerk?
I had no idea Amy wanted to do it. I think she'd be outstanding at it.
One of the reasons that I nominated you, Mark, is because you've been on the board for a while. You have a really clear understanding of the Brown Act, and not to say that you don't, Amy. Okay, so.
This is hard to do tactfully, you know?
Everyone's
Anyway.
good. We're all good.
It's fine. Okay,
So do you want to share
What-
anything?
sure. Well, yeah, no, I'm interested in clerk because I'd like to take a bigger role on the board. I think I'm very well qualified despite my couple of years here. I have a very good grasp of the Brown Act, and I think I'd be a great backup to Cece.
Thank you. So now okay, is there a motion, somebody make a motion for who, well, we have to decide collectively, right?
I think at this time, it just has to be a motion made. Someone has to make a motion on who they would like to see the
For
clerk,
one
and
of
then if
the
there's a second,
folks.
then there's a roll call vote. And if you get enough votes, then that person will be clerk. If not, then it'll go back out.
Okay, so,
Can the person who wants to be clerk make a motion to appoint themselves?
I don't see why not, yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion that I become clerk.
okay. Okay. Vote?
President Zeta.
This is really hard.
You want me to be,
Why don't we, do we have to go in that way, or can we start down here and go that way?
What, you'd like me to start with Amy?
Yeah.
Trustee Hirsch.
yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
Trustee Manassi. Trustee Grubbs.
Yes.
And Trustee Zeta.
Yes. Welcome to the position of clerk. That was a surprise to all of us, but thank you. All right, now we go, would you like to talk?
I'll go ahead and do it.
Go ahead.
So the next position is secretary to the board. This position is typically held by the superintendent, responsible for maintaining accurate records, overall board proceedings. So if anyone would like to make a motion.
I would like to make a motion to have Dr. Damon Wright, our superintendent, continue in that position as secretary to the Board of Education.
I will second that.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
President Zeta.
Yes.
Trustee Grubbs. Trustee Manassi. Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Hirsch.
All right. So at this time, we're going to do a little shuffle because Cece, Mrs. Grubbs, Trustee Grubbs is going to be taking this seat as president, and I'm going to be moving away from this particular seat, and I think we're shifting, we'll shift. Amy, you can come into this seat, and we'll do that. So just give us a couple minutes.
able to get in and everything on your computer? Hmm? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Changing labels. It's always fun to fit those into this frame.
So good evening, everybody. At this point in the meeting, board members are agree to be on certain committees. Oh, sorry. So we're going to go to 7E and the adoption of the calendar.
Okay, so before you, you'll see a governance calendar. This calendar differs from previous calendar versions because it includes the remainder of the 24-25 school year, and it also extends to the entire 25-26 school year.
Nice.
Previous calendars would have ended in December 2025. It just makes it problematic for planning purposes, so you'll see it extending all the way to the end of the school year 25-26. So staff recommends that we approve the calendar as presented.
I'll make a motion to accept the calendar. Oh, sorry. Oh, my gosh, well, yes, sorry. I'm so used to doing that. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's absolutely fine.
No, you could do.
Mrs. Zeta, would you like to make a motion to accept the calendar?
I would like to make a motion to accept the calendar as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Missing and grubs.
Oh, nice.
Trustee Hirsch,
Yes.
Trustee Seda,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli,
Yes.
and Trustee Manas. Yes. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And now, at this point, we go on to committees that members of the board sit on, and Dr. Wright will be explaining some of those.
Okay, we do have some committees, and I think that I'll just read through just a description of all the committees. And then if there's one of interest, once we get through all of them, then you'll have an opportunity to express interest. The first committee is a representative to the Solano County School Boards Association. Trustee Hirsch, I believe that you sat on this. This committee is responsible for any opportunities for connecting with other districts in the county. They do some professional planning, some PD support for districts within the county. And I know that Trustee Hirsch, I don't know if you have more that you want to add as a
No.
description.
You know, I would say there are once-a-month meetings, and the two main events take place in the winter and in the fall. And they typically are a panel with dinner. It's the general meeting for the Solano County School Boards Association. So duties would involve coming up with interesting topics and planning those.
We also have the District City Liaison Committee, which requires 2 representatives from the city of Benicia and also the district. Supposed to meet 2 to 4 times a year, collaborate. But This is a committee that hasn't met very often, so we're looking at getting it up and going again. We've got the Valero Community Advisory Panel, 2 representatives from the city, the school district. We meet at the refinery 4 times a year to talk about the inner workings and the safety of the refinery. We have the Board Policy Committee, 2 members. We review and update board policies quarterly. This work of this committee ensures that the district policies remain current and they're updated. We also consider new policies being proposed at the local level. Currently, Trustee Maselli and Trustee Hurst sit on this committee. The Facility Steering Committee, we would need 2 members. This committee meets to review bond construction needs, next steps, has representatives from multiple district departments to talk about the facility needs within the district. And the final committee that we'll be looking at is the California School Boards Association Delegate Assembly election, and that would be 1 nominee. So each year, member boards elect representatives to the California School Boards Association Delegate Assembly. The assembly is a vital link in the association's governance and sets the general policy and direction. Working with board members, the school board directors, and the executive committee, delegates ensure that the association promotes the interest of California school districts and county offices of education. So if you're really looking at doing some delegate work, this would be the committee for interest. So those are the committees that we'll be considering today. Going back to the first one, the representative to the Solano County School Boards Association, if there's anyone that wants to express interest in that particular committee.
I don't know if, I just wanted to share that I was interested in the district city liaison, board policy, and facility steering. So not to say that I would get those, but I just wanted to say that those were the 3 that stood out to me, my interest. The district city liaison, board policy, and facilities. And the facilities steering committee.
I would appreciate continuing to sit on the city liaison. It hasn't done very much lately since COVID, but they're supposed to be getting it up and running, and I'd like to have an opportunity to sit on that.
No one wants to do the
first
School
one.
Board Association?
To be honest, I'm not sure if the focus of that is going to change. The meetings have not been very well attended.
No, I don't, I was before you, and I didn't
Yeah.
find it to be of value at all.
Are you interested in?
I'm not too interested in continuing there. I was curious, the Liberty Rotary Liaison, is that the Rotary Club, or what is the Liberty Rotary Liaison? It's part of Valero Community Advisory and Liberty Rotary Liaison.
Yeah, Rotary serves as our PTA or booster club for Liberty High School, so they're just actively involved in those events and attend the Liberty events.
I'd be interested in doing that. I've come to some of the Rotary meetings, and I know they do a lot of good work with Liberty. I've seen them honoring. So I'd be interested in that.
Okay.
Is anybody interested in the delegate assembly nominee?
That involves doing
Places.
and stuff, right?
Some
It
travel.
does,
Yeah.
twice a year, is it twice a year?
And does every board have a delegate, or is it like you get elected? How does that work?
I believe you get elected, we nominate, and then there's a process in which you have to get elected onto the assembly.
Got it, okay.
So,
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Moss previously served as our member.
I do remember that, yes.
I'd like to continue on the facilities.
Are we not gonna have somebody on the County School Board Association?
I think we really should have a representative.
All right. Look, no one else is gonna do it, that's fine, I'll go back. I did it before.
So far, we have Mark on the Solano County. Sorry. We have Mark on the Solano County School Board Association. Yanni and Sherry on the District City Liaison, which needed two. Valero Advisory Panel, Amy. Board Policy Review, we don't have anybody, but I will do that.
I would do that again, too.
Is there anybody else who's interested?
I was
Two.
interested as well. But if Mark, you can go for it.
I think it would be ideal for you to be a part of that,
Okay.
because you'll learn that.
Put her in my spot.
Okay. So Yanni and I will be on the Board Policy Review, and then Facilities Steering Committee is Yanni and me, and then the California School Board Association delegate.
Who's on facilities?
Who's on Facilities? Me and Yanni.
Good.
The California School Board Association, Delegate Assembly nomination. So at this meeting, the board is given the opportunity to discuss possible candidates and pass a motion. So, and what you just said, Dr. Wright, was that this is an elected position. Is it a county-wide position? What's the?
I think it's done by area. So I know that we do collaborate with Napa and some other districts that aren't in our county.
Yeah, it's a state thing, isn't it?
It is a state thing, but I think that we would belong to a particular region.
Yeah, I think it's our CSBA region, if I read.
Right.
Region 3. We're Region 3.
It is hooked into the agenda online.
Yeah.
Is anybody interested in that? We can hold on that, if, right, we can,
I think we may miss some critical deadlines. I don't know them off the top of my head, but our next meeting is in January, so if there's someone that's remotely interested, we should probably identify that today.
and where are the meetings held?
I think
Oh, you're right, until January 7th.
I'll,
Can you get off work?
I could be a place and tell somebody else. I mean, is there anybody that's not working right now that could do it? Or?
I'll do it.
Thank you.
You have an opportunity to do the advocacy work that, that we've
Yeah.
been talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
within that committee, so.
Okay. So next we come to 8A, board report, our reports. And we have our student reports. We have Victoria from Liberty High School. Hi, Victoria. Welcome to the board.
Good evening, President Zeta, Superintendent Dr. Wright, fellow trustees, and cabinet members. My name is Victoria Blackman, and I will be Liberty High School's new student representative. This week is Spirit Week. Monday was Crazy Socks, Tuesday was Ugly Sweater, Wednesday was Festive Hats, today, Thursday, was Twins Day, and tomorrow is Friday Flannel. We have had several LTI field trips. Students visited Santa Rosa's JC Vet Tech program, the Culinary Institute of America at Greystone, printmaking workshops here in town, and finally, others went to the D. Young and Asian Art Museum in San Francisco. We look forward to our next round of LTI trips. We want to give a big shout out to several of our students that completed their college finals. We have had over 10 students already signed up for spring classes. We wish them the best of luck. On behalf of Liberty High School, we would like to wish everyone a safe and joyful holiday break.
Thanks so much, Victoria. That was fabulous. You are welcome to stay, or you can head out if you like. Bye. Bye. And here we are at superintendent reports.
That was perfect. I just want to wish everyone a happy holidays. You know, as we wrap up an outstanding fall semester, thank you students, staff, and parents for your hard work and support for our district. Wishing you an outstanding holiday season and also a happy new year. I hope you find time to relax, enjoy the company of your loved ones, or do whatever that brings you happiness. I know for me, I'm going to hit the ski slopes and hopefully return in one piece. Do some barbecuing, watching some football and basketball, and gearing up for our spring semester because we have a busy semester ahead. Just for the community, just note that school, we're off after tomorrow, and it resumes on Monday, January 6th. We had an opportunity as a governance team to go to CSBA in early December. It was a really valuable experience, collaborating with board members and superintendents across the state of California, hearing some of their insights. I got to say, sometimes hearing their situation makes you appreciate your situation. I just wanted to hug our board members and just say thank you for not, because there's some, you know, some districts are really struggling with their governance. I particularly enjoyed the new board member workshop. I had the opportunity to attend it with Trustee Manassi. I had a chance to get to know her a little bit and just learn some key things in governance. So I think the hot topic right now is potential legislation. What's going to happen when the new leadership turns over at the national level, and how is that going to impact the local level? And right now it's a lot of projections, but it's a lot of hurry up and wait. So, but there will probably be some change in the new year. Elementary band concert, had an opportunity to attend that. So the district office, we're fortunate enough to get serenaded weekly by our elementary band students. And you can hear it throughout this building. And I think now with the floors, you can really hear it, right? And I love it because on day one, you're like, what is that? And then you can start making it out as the year progresses. So by the time you get to the end of the year, you're like, oh, okay, that's the song that they're playing. But they performed at the middle school. They did an excellent job. It was a wonderful concert. Our choir, our elementary choir, also performed. So I do want to thank Mr. Gabe Guvera and also Mr. Eli Stamps for their leadership with our elementary band students, because I did have an opportunity to hear our middle school band at a competition in Pleasanton and also in Fairfield, and whoa, you know, the progression, it's awesome to hear. Drama show, I had an opportunity to attend the Midwinter Night Stream. Wonderful to see students showcasing their talent. The thing I liked about the show is there was a lot of energy. It was a lot of positive energy. They were having fun on the stage. There was a lot of laughter in the audience. You know, very creative student body, and I just look forward to the next production. Went to the football banquet Saturday. I just want to extend my gratitude to Ron Wheat and also the football staff, the coaching staff. You know, our program, we faced some adversity this year, but towards the latter end of that season, they were able to turn it around. And I still remember Sunday, I was scrolling through my phone, and I saw Principal Kleinschmidt's message, hey, come support the team in the playoffs. And I was like, we made it to the playoffs? And not only did we make it to the playoffs, but that first round, we had a convincing win. And then in that second round, we were literally one ball bounce away from making it to the semifinals. And it's just a testament to their character and their willingness to fight through adversity. A successful program isn't always measured by wins and losses. It's about, you know, perseverance and what you learn from the experience. So I think we have a bright future ahead. The position has been posted. I can say for a couple of weeks now, we looked last night, there were 26 applicants. And just to put that in perspective, that's unheard of these days. You know, back when I was principal at Benicia High School in 2012, yeah, you would see 26 applicants for any position or more, sometimes 40 or 50. Now we're lucky if we can get 8 to 10. So to see 26, there's a lot of interest there. So, you know, we're really going to have a rigorous interview process and bring in a new leader and hopefully move the football program and athletic program forward. And we had a community input session just last night. Principal Kleinschmidt and we got feedback from parents, what they're looking for, what characteristics they're looking for. So we're able to collect that information, really running this process as how we hire our principals. Community input, 2 rigorous panels, final panel with executive cabinet, and it's not going to be anything less than that. So that's all I have today.
Thank you. Are there any reports from the board?
I just want to give gratitude to the district for allowing or putting together the CSBA for all of us to be there and learn from so many different people across California. And every year when we do this, I so appreciate the things that I am learning. And I just want to thank you, Dr. Wright, and for allowing us to be able to do that as a group. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just have an update from the Solano County School Board Association. The next general meeting is going to be on January 27th, and that is going to be part 2 of the meeting that we had in the fall, which focuses on how do we move the needle in terms of reading. And I think that one exciting announcement is that our district is partnering with the library through Benicia Reads, and there may be an opportunity to view a couple of documentaries, maybe more than one, maybe 3, we'll see. But part of this meeting on the 27th, we're either going to be able to announce that before the meeting, or we'll be able to announce it at the meeting. And it's been really nice to kind of say, oh, go watch The Right to Read, and it'll generate some ideas and discussion, or Hopeville, or the other one is Sentenced, which I think is produced by the Currys. So anyway, more to come.
So we're gonna, are there any more board reports? At this point, we're gonna circle back.
We're going to circle back. We got a little excited that we got all the committees figured out, but we didn't make a motion second and take action on it. So we're going to go back and do that, and then we'll move forward on the agenda.
Can we do it all in one lump, or are we gonna do 1, 2, 3?
Do the one more.
We can do it in one lump? Okay, so do I have a motion to, do you want me to go back through them? Who's doing what, who signed up for what? Okay, so, a representative to Solano County School Boards Association would be Mark. We just needed 1. Districts and city liaison, we needed 2, and that's Yuni and Sherry. The Valero Community Advisory Panel, just 1, is Amy. The Board Policy Review Committee is Cece and Yuni. Facility Steering Committee, Yuni and Cece. Oh, so we're going to spend some time. And then the California School Board Delegate Assembly nomination is me. Mark, are you on here? Oh, you are on here. Okay. So can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
And Mrs. Martinez?
President Grubbs,
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch,
Yes.
Trustee Seda,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli,
Yes.
and Trustee Manesi.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, safe to go on? We are. Okay. So we are at number 9, agenda item number 9, comments from members of the public. So I have a big paragraph to read to you. All function of the board meeting, including public comments, will take place in person. Members of the public may address the board at a regular meeting on any item within the board's jurisdiction. Speaker cards are available on the entrance table. Please note the item you wish to speak to and submit a card to the board secretary. The board president will call all the open session general comments, Government Code Section 54954.3, during the public comment item. Comments for items on the agenda will be called during the specific item. Comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker, or the board may limit, the total time to 20 minutes per item for the timer with the timer displayed on the monitors. By law, no action may be taken on any item raised during the public comment periods, and matters may be referred to staff for placement on a future agenda of the governing board. please remember to keep your comments respectful, as students may be watching the board meeting. And also I do want to say one thing, that we do wish we could comment. We do. You have no idea how much we wish we could comment, but we can't. So I just wanted to add that. And our first speaker tonight is Monica Brown. Please join us.
I have to do that in 2 weeks. Deja vu here. Oh, okay, don't start the 3 minutes. Well, it helps if I can read. So my name is Monica Brown. I am your County Board of Supervisor, and I'm a retired teacher. And I have money to give. So, yes, yay, okay. So the Board of Supervisors, we have voted that each of us get $15,000 for community action, for community money. It sounds like a lot, but I have a lot of Title I schools. Okay, so I have a check for $2,000. The expenditure to the Benicia Unified School District is split in 5 parts. $500 to go to the softball team, $500 to go to the debate team, and for the teachers at the Benicia Unified School Districts to purchase school supplies, that's Mary Farmer for $250, Robert Semple for $250, and there's somebody in the back who might like to hear that you're going to get $500, Liberty High. So what the parameters are, that the money that is being allocated to the 3 schools here, when I'm talking about Mary Farmer, and I'm talking about Robert Semple and Liberty High, is that only the teachers can decide, not management, and you can tell, I'm a CTA member, so that's all you need to know. But it's at a regularly scheduled faculty meeting. Not of this, so we're gonna do it and there's 3 teachers. It has to be regularly scheduled, and you have to decide and you have to vote on it. I have some checks that I would talk to teachers and they would go, we have no idea what you're talking about. So we're not going to do that here. It wasn't here, it was other places. So I'm going to give this to you guys, but each supervisor must submit the proposed expenditure, which I did, and accountability. Since we have the Liberty over here, is that when you guys vote, whatever it is, I just need to see what it was you decided on, because I have to have it for the auditor. We only are a $1.6 billion organization, and they kind of want us to be, honest and fair. So that goes with that. Here's your check for $2,000. Spend it well. I wish I had more, but I don't. But the point is, thank you for letting me come. Sometimes this is when I have MCE, Marin Clean Energy, and I can't make it to all of your board meetings, but it's not that I don't care about kids, and I know a lot of you guys know me for that. Happy all the holidays. So one that we forgot, so it's Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and the one that's happening at the Veterans Hall, why can't I think of that one? Kwanzaa, thank you. And then Festivus. I forgot about that. So today we had the chamber meeting, Festivus for the rest of us. So watch Seinfeld and have fun. Enjoy, take care of yourself. I agree with the superintendent. It's very stressful. It's going to be very stressful. And we need to make sure that we keep Dr. Moss in our prayers and stuff like that, because Christopher Cabalda owes us money. I'm just sharing.
Thank you so much. And our next speaker is Alicia. There's no, Alicia, please come join us. I don't have a last name, though.
Thank you. My name is Alicia Brewster. Thank you for having this open forum. Unfortunately, I am here to discuss an issue my family's been struggling with now for 4 years. Dr. Beetson, I met with you 2 years ago in this room with my husband, and unfortunately, the issues have continued, and I do feel that they've worsened. My concern is our lack of protections on the Benicia Unified School District Chromebooks that are given to every child. I understand that we have the Children's Internet Protection Act on these devices. It's not enough. We're doing a huge disservice to our students. I don't have time to get into the horrific situations that my children have been in because of these computers, but I hope my desperation is coming across. I've sent emails, I've had meetings, I've called left voicemails. I've called numbers to some of your offices that voicemails are full. I don't know what else to do, but I do have some suggestions that I hope we can do moving forward. As a state employee myself, I do not have access to YouTube. I'm shocked that our children have such unbridled access to YouTube. All of the social media that I would never allow my children access to are just recorded onto YouTube Shorts. So children are just sitting watching TikTok Shorts through the app of YouTube, or through Safari, going through YouTube and just watching these videos. There's constant gaming in class. And I get it, like it's a lot easier for teachers when they can just keep teaching if their children are struggling and they all of a sudden find a game that they can just be stuck to. It keeps the classroom moving forward, but it's not fair to our kids. As a state employee, I don't have access to any of that on my work computer because we know that this is addictive. We know what it does to our brains, and for our children who don't have prefrontal cortexes developed yet, I don't know why we're asking them to make these sorts of decisions. It's just not fair to their education. It's not fair to our time, and it's certainly put a damper on my entire family's dynamics the last 4 years. So some of my suggestions would be, I would love to see a work group that we could look and compare at what other districts are doing. After meeting with Dr. Beatson in 2022, Go Guardian was put on in 2023. Life was so much better then. I heard that teachers complained about that because you do have to plan ahead for what you want access to, and I know that funding is involved. So I have talked to multiple PTGs. They are happy to fundraise for Go Guardian, and they see it as a good use of their $50,000 plus a year in fund run money. Second suggestion, if we can't afford Go Guardian, I'd love to see that we're blacking out internet access. We have gotten so desperate that we provide our own devices for our children now to bring to school. Within an hour, we were able to block the internet to only allow access to the sites that they needed for school. What I do for work is an authentication process. So if my work computer, I bring it home, I still don't have access to these sites because I have to authenticate a verification process to only have access to the sites that my work allows. When our students leave, is that time or a minute? Okay, at the very least, please communicate what we're not providing to our students because I don't think parents are aware of just how much access their kids have and that when they leave school, they have full access on these Chromebooks. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have some more, but you're going to, the next comments will be when we get to item 12C and 12D. So we'll go on. So the board may bundle a number of items and act upon them together in one motion through the use of a consent calendar. Consent agenda items are routine items deemed to be non-controversial, for which board discussion is not anticipated and for which the superintendent recommends approval. There will be no discussion of these items prior to the vote unless any member of the board requests specific items to be removed for discussion. So, do I have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the consent calendar as written.
And a second?
I'll
We
second.
don't have, Sherry.
President Krebs. Takes me a minute.
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch?
Yes.
Trustee Seda?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Manassi? Thank you.
Do we have to do a separate on resolution 24, 25, 17?
And also an acknowledgement of
There's a gift. Oh, yeah.
All right, President Grubbs. Or are you going to?
Yes, we'd like to thank and appreciate the gifts to the district. A check in the amount of $500 for the Benicia High School girls basketball team from Jeffrey A. Nicolini. Thank you so much for that gift. It's very well appreciated. And I think that's it. Do I have another one?
Resolution G.
I don't have a resolution here.
G.
So we take that out.
Right there.
do a separate
Okay.
roll call.
Oh, separate roll call for, I forgot what number I'm on, 10G, thank you.
President Grubbs.
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch.
Yes.
Trustee Seda.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Manasi. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now we go to our action items. And, oh, I'm sorry, presentation and communication, information items. So 11A is the California dashboard update, which I believe is Dr. Beatson.
Good evening, President Grubbs, school board members. I'm very excited to present to you tonight our results of our California dashboard. I want you to really understand what our results are and what the purpose of the dashboard is. So the California dashboard is an online tool that shows how school districts are performing in a multitude of areas, and those are the state indicators. So they look at our academics from our CASP assessment, the English and math. They look at how our English learners are progressing, our chronic absenteeism rate, our graduation rate, suspension, and college and career. And they look at those all as how do we do as a school district? How do we do as a school district overall in every student group? How does every school do? And how does every school's student groups perform? And so this is really our accountability measure. And what you can do, I've linked in on this presentation the link right to the California School Dashboard, so anybody can go and see how all the different school districts in the state are doing. We get a performance level for groups that have 30 or more students in them for both this year and prior year, because one of the things about the California dashboard is that it is a growth model. So they look at what they call status, which is how did we do this year compared to change? How did we do from the previous year? Did we increase or did we decrease? And so that's a really positive thing that the state is doing since the dashboard came into play. So it's not just how did we do. So you can maybe not even be performing as well as you want, but you grow and you kind of get credit for that, if that makes sense. There are student groups that are, if there are 15 students in a group, at least that would be for foster and homeless youth. We won't get a performance level if there are between 11 and 29, and then there's just no data for any student groups less than 11 students, and that's for confidentiality purposes. So, of course, I have a lot of data slides, and as I always say, I won't go through all of them unless you have questions, but I wanted to start with just a summary of our successes. And so the California dashboard is on a 5-color code grid. So I always say blue is best and green is good. And then we have yellow, and then orange and red. Okay, so we don't really want to be in the red, and we have to report out in our LCAP and have actions and services for any students that are in the red band. But I just wanted to show you how many places we have moved into blue. And again, we have made great growth across the board in our district. Our staff has been working really hard on these areas. And it doesn't mean we've met the achievement level where we want to be, but we're growing in the right area, if that makes sense. And then, again, in green, most of these were in orange last year in the previous. And so you can see how many different places, both sites and student groups, have moved into the green. Okay, so lots of growth there. And then, of course, we always talk about our areas of opportunity for growth, and these are in the red. And so, and I'm going to show you a slide or two in, you can really see the comparison. But we have a few places in the red. Those are places where we need to continue to really pay attention to and figure out what do we need to continue to do differently to support students in these areas. We are in differentiated assistance. We just got notified last week. Differentiated assistance used to be called program improvement. And it is when you have a student group that is in the red in 2 or more different areas. And so our students with disabilities, we were in the red as a district for college and career, English, language arts, and mathematics performance. Okay, so we are working very closely with our special ed department and our student services department and ed services to really dig into what does that look like. And then we have quite a few groups in the orange, and those are watch, right? Because those can either go down to the red or move up to the yellow. So a lot of these groups, again, were in the red last year, so they're moving in the right direction. And we need to keep our foot on the gas to keep moving in the right direction. One of the criticisms that the California dashboard has gotten in the media lately is that it's not user-friendly. And the part, when you go to their website or the online tool, that's not user-friendly is you can't compare year to year without completely changing screens. So it doesn't put up a side-by-side comparison of how did we do last year, how did we do this year. So, oh, I'm jumping ahead of myself, but I'll come back to that. I'll come back to these. So I created those. So these slides here, I really wanted people to be able to see how did we do last year, what colors were we in, and where did we move this year. So I just clicked ahead several slides, and so on the left, that peachy color is supposed to be orange. That was the only one that would come up on the spreadsheet. But if you look at the left and then you look over at the right just visually, you can see a big difference in those color schemes. And so I did that for every school site, so you can see how did they do overall over the last couple of years.
I have a question for you, Dr. Beetson.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I remember back from my time on site council, we used to look at improvement. So say you had 3, 4, and 5 grades. You would look at the 3rd grade when they went to 4th grade, and you would see like the diagonal change. Are you able to do that here?
Not with this.
Okay.
That's your cohort is what you're talking about. And we look at that when I bring you the CASP data, like the raw, 53% of students, and then we can look at how did they do as 3rd graders, how did they do as 4th graders, how did they do as 5th graders. But this data doesn't show that.
Okay.
And then I just want to go back to here. Sorry about that. So this is what the actual dashboard looks like. It's called a 5x5 grid. And on the left is really your status. So how did you do? Did you perform very low, low, medium, high? And then across the top is what changed? Did you increase or decrease from how you performed last year? And that's how they come up with your placement on this particular grid, if that makes sense. And when you go to the actual online tool, you can click and it will bring you to that school's page and see how you do there. Does that make sense? Any questions there? So you can see as a district, we are in the green. We've increased. We're at the medium performance. We know we still have room to grow with our ELA performance. And we have no schools in the yellow or orange, in the red or orange. So that is excellent. And I want to point out Benicia Middle School, while we're still in the yellow, they've increased significantly. And I brought those scores to you a couple of meetings ago. And so you can see how that you get credit for your growth. And I'll just show you the district's math again. And as I said, the last time we met, we were the highest performing for growth in the state. And this, I think, is a testament to that because we have everybody in our district in the green and in the blue. I'm happy to continue to go through. I've got all of the different 5x5s here. I'm going to take direction from you if you'd like me to talk about any more of these or the comparison. So I did the district 5x5s here, and then I also showed you the color change over time for each area, and then for student groups. And I did the same thing for each school site. Yeah. Any questions?
Just one. I noticed that we're trending in the green for suspension rate.
Yeah, so that's good.
Yes.
Because we want to be in the green. So our suspensions and chronic absenteeism are the ones you don't want to increase, you want to decrease. But the green is still good. So we are declining in overall in suspensions and pretty significantly in chronic absenteeism.
Okay, and I know that the schools are using PBIS. Do we find that is still beneficial?
Yes, it really helps to set that climate, those really clear expectations. Each school has a PBIS team, so they're looking at data. They're talking about how do we intervene early when we see patterns of behavior that we want to change. And so it's not a punitive model, but what can we do to support the child in making different decisions? Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Beatson. We need to go back, so I apologize to Alicia W. You had wanted to make a comment during the general comment session, so please come up, and I apologize for not seeing your card.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I put it on the desk because Georgina was busy talking, and I don't know how it somehow got misplaced. So when the other Alicia came up, I started to come up too. So, okay, so let me see. I spoke last year on my concerns about the gender identity and the puberty talk. And so I'm still concerned about that being in the curriculum and overall, actually. You may or may not have heard of a very famous company recently who cut out the transgender storyline from a famous streaming show, which was due to come out in 2025. And this, I'm not going to name the company because I don't want any issues with being sued or anything like that. But it is a fact that the statement was made by this famous company that cut that out. And the statement was, when it comes to animated content for a younger audience, we realize that many parents would prefer to discuss certain subjects with their children on their own terms and timelines. And so I just want to add to that that many parents feel the same way about this stuff being in the curriculum as well. Everybody has different faith, everybody has different beliefs, and I just feel it should be left up to the parents to discuss with their children. And so anyway, we all, whether we believe in Almighty God, will have to answer at the end to Him at the end of this life. And so I hope and pray that this curriculum will be changed, and I pray for mercy on anybody who is pushing it. I'm not against any of that. If you want to be however you want to be, we have that freedom. But it should not be pushed in the curriculum on the children because, as I stated, everybody has their own morals, beliefs, and faith, and not everybody's faith believes in that. So, thank you.
Thank you. And now we go to 12B, approval of IT server upgrades.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
11B.
12,
11B.
11B.
Yeah, 11B is ethnic studies course outline presentation. It's not on here, you gotta look at the agenda.
I have it. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I'll get better at this, I promise. 11B, ethnic studies course outline.
Okay. Good evening. We are very excited to bring to you tonight a proposed course outline for ethnic studies. One of the requirements by law is that we bring the course outline to you at a public board meeting. So that's what we're doing tonight, so no action. We won't be asking you to approve this. We will bring it back in January for approval. We have done a board study session. We've presented a couple other times. This is a new law that is coming in to offer ethnic studies for at least a one-semester course. We've done a lot of outreach to the public. We went to festivals and tried to get some input. We put out surveys. And I have to give a shout out to Ms. Kleinschmidt and Ms. Lewis, because they worked really well with their staff to put together a pretty robust ethnic studies course proposal. And so at this point, I'm going to let Ms. Kleinschmidt walk us through. Do you want me to click for you, or do you want?
Sure, you can click for
All
me.
right.
How nice.
So thank you, Ms. Kleinschmidt.
Yes, good evening, President Grubbs and all of our trustees. Yeah, excited to bring this to you. One of the teachers from Benicia High School who's been instrumental in this is here tonight also, which I really appreciate her support. Morgan Jefferson, and I'll thank all of the team because it's been quite a group effort. I want to start with the why. That's always really important just to remember, since we have brought this to you before in a few different opportunities and ways. It is a new California state requirement, excuse me, from a law that was an assembly bill that was passed in October of 2021, making ethnic studies a high school graduation requirement in California. We were already ahead of that, offering an ethnic and identity studies course that was a year-long electives course for several years. And so this shifted instead to looking at what is the state requiring, what does the model curriculum look like, and doing some work again with the community in terms of what was our community wanting us to make sure to include as well. And so it must be offered next year to be in compliance with that assembly bill, and I'm excited to dive into it with you. So after collecting community input and participating in professional learning, Juan Lobo from Liberty High School, Kim Thompson from Benicia High School jumped in to a lot of professional learning for us to really become point people. I know Dr. Beatson and a few of us attended lots of webinars and different groups to just learn as much as we could and soak it all in. A team of teachers and administrators worked to collaborate on the draft of the course proposal using the model framework every step of the way. It's a nice thick binder about this big, and so it was a great guide for us to use. We brought it to our site council just a week or two ago to have them review this as well, and got the green light from site council to bring it on here as well. The course is designed to develop an understanding of how race, ethnicity, nationality, and culture have shaped and continue to shape individuals and society here in the United States. It focuses on knowledge, understanding, and appreciation for the various cultures in our community, here in Benicia specifically. That's one of the really neat things that this course does, is ask you to look, yes, at our state, at our country, but here specifically in our town. There's a focus on the experience of African Americans, Asian Americans, Chicanas, Chicanos, and Latinos, American Indian and Indigenous peoples, and other racialized people in the United States, again with a local lens. The course spans from past to present, so it's very much a social science history course, including politics and social reform, allowing students to identify social patterns and universal qualities present in all ethnic and cultural aspects of society, including their own, which is unique in a way if you think of a high school course, that a student really gets to consider, reflect, and learn about themselves as well and bring that to the class. We're always looking for opportunities to do that because it really connects students' own sparks, right? What interests them and how they can apply that. We are taking a thematic approach based on that framework, looking at identity, history and movement, systems of power, and social movements and equity as those 4 main themes. And so when you look at the course proposal that we've put together, you'll see 5 units. Those first 4 are based on those themes, and the 5th one is really about celebration and looking forward, a sort of call to action. Again, that idea of students making it their own, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. So there are 8 guiding outcomes given to us by the state of California used to create and organize this class. I won't read through each of those because I know they've been brought to you several times before, but you would see those woven through all of the lessons, activities, assessments for the ethnic studies course. And we're proposing this for students in 11th and 12th grade, a 1-semester course that they would pair with another elective or another graduation requirement as we move into discussion of graduation requirements, but next year as an elective. And so we're excited to share with students, look at the interest, and move from there. As I mentioned, we added a 5th unit, what we would call our culminating unit, looking forward, celebrations, and a call to action. And when we were doing a lot of the work, and I'll shout out Ms. Jefferson specifically for this, she came up with this idea that the history and the lessons can be a bit heavy and at times a bit dark. And we really wanted to bring and end the class with that feeling of celebration and positivity. What can we do in our community? How can we move forward with positivity? And so looking at having our students create a 10-page children's book celebrating the culture, traditions, and values of an ethnic group of their choice, and then potentially share that with one of our local elementary schools. Maybe partner with Mary Farmer and go over and share that with them so there's a real audience and an opportunity to connect. So really excited to add that piece, and maybe that will become a model lesson for other schools someday, we would hope. And so I'll end with that, and just a major thank you to everyone who's helped with this. Along the way, all of our staff have participated truly because we've had a lot of staff input sessions, but specifically in getting together and writing this, I mentioned Juan Lobo, Kim Lewis, Morgan Jefferson, also Kim Thompson, and some of our teachers from special education jumped right in to help us, Megumi Sakamoto and Kathleen Sauter, and so we just appreciate all of their work. And with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Ms. Kleinschmidt did the brief overview, but attached to the board agenda is the full course outline that you can see. And then if you have any questions or feedback, we'd love to hear it, and then we'll bring it back to you in January.
I had a comment / question, I guess. I heard a lot of themes. I heard positivity. There was a slide in your presentation where you talked about universal, having students identify social patterns and universal qualities that are present in all aspects of society, ethnic and cultural aspects of society, including their own. When you kind of, ethnic studies, I looked at the model curriculum, it's massive. And I know that preparing our course is really hard work. When you kind of step back big picture, when our students leave the classroom, what do you want them to take with them?
Good question, absolutely. Well, I answer this and say that I also hope they are getting it from other classes currently, but specifically in this class, definitely take away multiple perspectives, understanding and appreciation, right? It's easy to look through our own lens, but to have the opportunity to learn about other perspectives as well, to think critically about that, that's always one of our expected student learning goals, right? Critical thinking, to be able to form their own opinion, but consider the opinions and experiences of others as well in doing that. We want them to understand that each ethnic community has its own unique history, struggles, contributions, and all of that needs to be celebrated and understood, right? That all informs where we are today and the different systems that we exist within today as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. This is, sorry, I'm just on and on.
No, go.
I was gonna say, I lost my train. You go, Sherry, you have a
No,
question?
I was gonna ask you where you found that.
Oh, it's in the, go down a little bit. Another question I had, I took a look at the different, modules that were selected, and, I think from my perspective, when I read the law, I thought it was a history class, but that's not what it is. So this has been kind of a learning for me as well. It's much more cultural, and I just want to commend you on selecting interesting and relevant topics that I personally would love to hear about. I looked at the ones on African culture, and I don't think that I ever learned any of that in school. So that was really interesting. One question I had, you Google ethnic studies, and you're just going to get hit with a ton of stuff online. To the extent people are concerned about divisiveness or exclusion or making kids feel bad, let me back up. How does the teacher prevent politics from coming in?
I'll give you an honest answer, and I don't know that you can do that.
Well, yeah.
I think that we, and I'm sure our history classes and history teachers would probably say that's already happening. I mean, we have a government and politics class at the 12th grade level as a graduation requirement. So I think it's more about teaching students how to be informed viewers, consider the sources, consider media. Again, it goes back to forming your opinion, being educated on that. And so I think it actually gives the opportunity to help our students understand politics, how ethnic studies can inform that as well, to grow their knowledge, grow that, again, back to the different perspectives, right? And so when they're potentially voting or making political decisions, that informs them as well. Similar, right? I don't recall learning about ethnic studies in high school, and it wasn't until college that I intentionally took classes in that area and ended up minoring in Black studies out of interest. It was so interesting to me to learn about something that I felt like I hadn't had the chance to learn about before. And so history is very much alive here, but then connecting it to what's happening currently. and politics are certainly part of what's happening currently. But for our students as well, 11th and 12th graders will be voting in the next election. And so I think it's a really interesting opportunity for them to form opinions, hear with respect, learn to have respectful discourse, and understand there's opposing viewpoints as well, and be informed on those.
Great.
Yeah.
If people want to know what this course is going to look like, what would be the best way for them to find out?
Great question. So we have, it's like you set me up. So we have our electives fair and open house with 8th grade parent night. It's sort of a whole school showcase in one. And I believe it's January 16th. I think it's actually, you have an early board meeting so that you can come join us afterwards. So that will be part of our electives fair so that we have the opportunity to have that discourse with students and parents about why they might want to sign up and take that elective. Again, we've offered it as a year-long course as ethnic and identity studies, so it's not the exact same. It is definitely different, but I think for some of our students, they're aware of it. They have sought it out in the past, and it'll be a new opportunity.
Great.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to ask my fellow trustees as we review this for coming up for a vote. I think we should keep in mind what's right for Benicia. The state has given us this massive document, right? And we have to sift through it. And I have prepared classes before teaching paralegals, and it takes forever. And there's a lot of trial and error. And I'm just going to ask, let's all review it and just keep that in mind for Benicia students. Is this what we want?
Okay.
The focus.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Thank you. This is
Yeah.
really great. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Was the LGBTQA+ community considered to be part of the ethnic studies course?
It is, yes. And so one, again, the community input opportunity, and then within the model framework and model lessons, some of that intersectionality is absolutely part of that as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the model framework also identifies the ethnic groups that Ms. Kleinschmidt identified. They need to be included as well as the intersectionality. So that's why those groups are called out. Okay. And when you look at how the state identifies student groups, both for data and all the other pieces, it's all of the groups that are listed in here, knowing that we're all made up of all different kinds of things, make up our own identity.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next we go on to our action items. And the first item we have, item 12A, is consideration and approval of resolution number 24-25-18 to provide an easement to the city of Benicia in the immediate vicinity of Mary Farmer Elementary School pedestrian bridge abutment. The district seeks board adoption by a 2/3 vote of all of its members of the resolution of the intention to convey an easement of the city of Benicia in connection with work to be performed regarding the Military West pedestrian bridge. And I believe it's Ms. Egan, who's already up.
Thank you. Yeah, so tonight what we have, so it's exciting actually to see this moving forward, the pedestrian bridge on Military West that's service Mary Farmer. We all know it was knocked out last year, so the city is moving forward with plans to have that rebuilt. And what this is asking, the piece of the bridge, the abutment that is adjacent to Mary Farmer, sits on district property. So this is the intent today, so it's a process, and then we'll come back, if you approve tonight, we'll come back in January for the actual conveyance of the easement. So it's an easement. The district still owns the property. The easement's approximately 10 feet by 18 feet, and it says that we, the district, won't build on that portion of land or do anything to disturb the bridge abutment. And it allows the city to provide the needed maintenance and helps our community at Mary Farmer and the rest of the city. So I think it's a good thing, and staff recommendation is to approve it.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve resolution 24-25-18.
And a second?
Was that a second?
Yes.
I could barely hear, sorry.
I'll second.
President Grubbs.
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch.
Yes.
Trustee Seda.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Manassi.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Egan. I believe you're up again. Action item 12B, approval of, consideration and approval of IT service upgrades. We have Ms. Egan and Mr. Lambert.
Great. So thanks to our IT department for helping us do improvements that support our IT work. They assisted in getting bids and working with this contractor. The vendor is Portola Systems. They're the same ones that did our recent camera and security upgrades, and they also have provided assistance to the district as far back as 2016. So we have a long-running relationship with them. They've been very helpful. The contracts are negotiated using the CMAS, which is the state negotiated pricing. So it's already negotiated for us at an acceptable level. And so what this does is provide server upgrades and warranty support for 5 years. It's anticipated that the equipment will last, it can last beyond the 5 years, maybe 8 to 9, depending on what it is. And so staff recommendation is for approval of the contract to Portola Systems for the computer upgrades in the amount of $168,634.87. Do you want to add anything?
Any questions? Is there a motion?
Is this the servers district-wide?
And it's great that IT is so helpful because we're buying the equipment, IT is installing it, so it saves us some money.
No, there's any questions. I move that we approve the IT server upgrades.
I'll second.
And roll call vote.
President Grubbs.
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch.
Yes.
Trustee Seda.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Manassi.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we come to action item 12C, of which we have a number of speakers. So, Kristen Grubbs, would you like to come up?
Good evening. My name is Kristen Grubbs, and I have been a physical education teacher in Benicia Unified for 15 years. I taught 10 years at Benicia High and am currently in my 5th year at Benicia Middle School. I'm here tonight to ask the Board of Trustees to vote no on allowing physical education exemptions for students who participate in school-sanctioned CIF athletics and marching band or color guard. Although California Ed Code does allow local education agencies the option, not mandate, of creating physical education exemptions for these two subsects of the student population, I strongly feel that this is not what is in the best interest of Benicia Unified, BUSD physical educators, or BUSD student body as a whole. As a school board, you are here to ensure that all students receive a well-rounded education. Physical education is an integral part of that well-rounded education that current BUS students receive. Physical education is not solely about physical activity, but teaches critical aspects of health, fitness, and nutrition, mental wellness, teamwork, and the benefits of regular exercise. Athletes and marching band members may get a lot of physical activity, but they might not receive the broader education benefits offered by a well-designed PE curriculum. Exempting them from PE could deprive them of this more comprehensive, well-rounded education. PE provides students with opportunities to try different types of physical activities, many of which may be new or unfamiliar. Relying only on sports-specific or band-specific physical education could limit students' exposure to a wide variety of movements, exercises, and fitness techniques. PE is an opportunity to develop a broader understanding of fitness that transcends their specialized activities. Offering exemptions based on participation in extracurricular activities could create an inequitable environment. It would suggest that only those involved in certain programs are deserving of time away from required classes. Physical education should be a part, and is right now currently a part, of a well-balanced curriculum that applies equally to all students, regardless of their extracurricular activities or elective choices. This ensures that every student has the same opportunity to develop physical health and fitness skills that will last them a lifetime. Reclassifying marching band as an interscholastic athletic activity is also something that I would like the board to reject. CIF is the governing body for interscholastic athletics and does not list marching band as a sanctioned sport or activity. Creating this reclassification is just a smoke show to try to fit a round peg into a square hole. The graduation requirements that you will be proposed to look at only make it seem like there are two options when it comes to PE in the future for Benicia Unified School District. I'm here to implore the board to know that there is a third option, and that is to keep the status quo of every student taking 2 years of PE. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that we, Dr. Beetson, are you up? No, these are all 12D. Some have been changed. Are you 12C?
If it's regarding the physical education, let's let them speak now.
Oh, okay, so Charles Harrell, because those are the consideration approval of high school course outlines, or for D.
Yeah, they may have just wrote the wrong number, so if they're here to speak about the physical education change.
Hi, my name is Charlie Harrell. I'm currently a sophomore at Benicia High School. I'm in Mr. Schwartz's weight training class and the Benicia High School marching band. I would like to say that the Benicia High School marching band should be able to meet PE requirements. As someone who has struggled a lot in PE in the past due to weight issues, I would say there are a lot of times where you don't get the full effort because you lag behind, and it kind of motivates you just to stay behind. There are a lot of sports like disc golf and ultimate frisbee where you're not really doing anything, and as someone who's guilty of it, you're able to just stand in the corner. Marching band is not the most rigorous activity, especially compared to classes like weight training, but I do think it does take a lot of physical activity because specific marching styles can put a lot of strain, which helps build muscle, and I know my legs are definitely sore at the end of the day after practice. But I also think marching band is very helpful with developing teamwork because it is solely relying on teamwork. If someone's lagging behind, it brings everyone else behind. And just, you go into sections, which brings a lot of camaraderie and teamwork, and I just think overall it brings a strong sense of leadership more than, to the same extent as a lot of sports, and definitely more than sports that honestly are kind of silly, like disc golf and ultimate frisbee. That's all I had to say.
Thank you. Thank you. And our next speaker is Alex Mead.
Hi, I'm Alex Mead. I'd like to start by saying that my husband and I moved our young family to Benicia specifically for its excellent schools. We crossed a bridge. We both moved farther from our work places. It has been the best decision that we've ever made. This is our 14th year as Benicia School District parents and my first time speaking at a board meeting. With that, I'd like to support the proposal to count marching band as the equivalent to a second year of physical education. I, in my work, rely on evidence-based studies in my particular job and wish to bring up some data points as it pertains to this topic. Number one, according to a 2016 University of Illinois at Chicago publication, where marching band members' oxygen consumption, heart rate, and step counts were obtained, researchers found that marching band elicits work of a moderate to vigorous intensity level as prescribed by the American College of Sports Medicine. Other studies have demonstrated that marching band participants maintain heart rates in moderate to vigorous intensity zones, meeting physical activity standards set by the CDC and the World Health Organization. Another study in 2017, published in the Journal of Physical Activity and Health, found students in marching band burned between 300 to 500 calories per hour during practice and performances. As a mom, I can attest to that because these kids come home so sweaty. Marching band students, like Charlie said, also learn many of the same concepts offered in PE, i.e. teamwork, coordination, strengthening, and also injury prevention. There are a lot of respected institutions that have taken these data points into consideration. There are other California school districts that allow for this to count as a year of PE. And additionally, like Dartmouth College and Cornell University also allow students performing in marching band to be waived of their PE requirement. To conclude, marching band requires cardiovascular endurance and physical strength, qualities that align with the goals of our PE program. And I would encourage you to support the proposal to count marching band as an equivalent to the second year of our PE requirement. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sarah Michaud. Welcome.
Imagine that. Hello, my name is Sarah Michaud, and I am a parent of 3 children in this district, 6th, 8th, and 10th grades. I also serve on the boards of the high school band boosters, where I'm the vice president, and the middle school band boosters, where I am the color guard representative. So I'm very involved in these programs. I believe I'm the only BMS representative this evening because they are performing a concert tonight, so they are unable to be here. I am urging the board to vote yes on the proposal for PE exemption to be obtained by students who complete the required amounts of time in marching band, color guard, and other sports. The way I understand this proposal, it only affects the 10th grade year. So these students have completed the other 4 years of PE in middle school and the 9th grade year. I can personally attest to how hard our marching band and color guard students work and how physically active they are. Our color guard students have a conditioning portion of each class where they stretch, do sit-ups, jumping jacks, and movement across the floor. This warm-up is 20 to 30 minutes each time. After this, they begin drill where they practice their skills. My 8th grade daughter is holding her own in advanced PE, merely as being a color guard member and not being involved in any other sports because of the conditioning she has received as a color guard student. The students leave tired with sore muscles. The guard and the band together do 4 to 5 passes each time, where in high school they march the entire length of the upper parking lot at BHS while carrying their instruments and playing, which takes their lung capacity and endurance. These students drill over and over to create the precision that they showcase each season. Our band truly is award-winning, and they don't get that way without dedication to practice, both with their instruments and physically. Our programs are also affected by students who don't have room in their schedules for the slot marching band and guard require, trying to meet other requirements. I have personally talked to students who want to continue our programs but just don't have the space. My son has taken early bird both years, and because he also has an IEP and curriculum support, he has still not begun his language studies and is therefore behind in his peers for college acceptance. Opening this period of the day to sophomores could be a game changer. Additionally, schools in the Fairfield-Sassoon district already offer the same things to their students. This is not something new. Other high schools do this and have been giving their students this opportunity for a number of years, and I believe it's time Benicia catches up.
Mr. Terrell Mead.
See, I guess this doesn't get up any higher. Hello, my name is Terrell Mead. Thank you for giving me this moment to endorse and support the proposal to accept 1 year of band in lieu of PE towards BHS graduation. One of the course outlines that you're going to see later. I'm a math and statistics professor at Contra Costa College, sister college to DVC, and I've spent my entire 30-year career teaching at the community college level, helping students get to four-year universities. My wife, who spoke earlier, and I have 2 kids. One is a BHS graduate and one is in the band currently. There's 2 points I wanted to emphasize today. The first is that As Sarah just pointed out, I think eloquently, there's not enough class periods in the day to allow a BHS student who plans to apply to a UC or a state school to take the recommended and required coursework for admission to those universities, in addition to band, without taking the early bird class. And students then have to begin at 7:30 a.m. And then have to run the whole day until 5:30 p.m. when marching is over. So it's a 10-hour day for them. And then they have homework to follow. Ultimately, we really want our students to have space in their schedules for the high school curriculum that they need, both to prepare for UC and CSU admission and to be part of band. Eliminating the need to take only in order to take only that early class, to get rid of that requirement and give PE elective credit to band will encourage band participation while allowing students to be college ready. This would be a big win for our students. Our son, Harrison, really wanted to be here tonight, but he can't because he's studying for his AP Calculus final exam tomorrow morning. But he wanted you to know that if he did not have to take another PE course, that he would be enrolling in AP Statistics next year, which aligns with his career goals and his plans for after high school. And I think that's true of many, many students that we have. The second point I want to make is that our award-winning band is amazing. I want to impress upon you how hard these kids work, practicing their marching and their music. They're very nearly undefeated this year in competitions. They're fantastic. They play every football home game to support our school. They played at the tree lighting event. They would have been in the parade if it hadn't rained. They put on the Jazz Festival. They participate in county and statewide honor bands. They're a symbol of our district's community involvement. They're visible and they are extremely talented. And we can really support them if we pass this. We know learning communities such as band programs offer great academic benefits to students. And one way to encourage more students to participate while meeting college admission standards is to pass this motion. I encourage you to vote to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Grubbs, you were up again for 12D. Would you like? Okay, thank you. So, Dr. Beatson, you are up for graduation requirements policy?
Yes. Thank you, and good evening again. I'm here to walk you through a pretty complicated update on the board graduation requirement policy. So typically, this would just be in the packet with the other policies, but because there's some choices that we will ask you to make as we recommend this new policy, I figured it would be easier to kind of walk you through those choices as we go. So just, you've seen this slide in the past when I've brought this to you before. These are our current graduation requirements at the state of California for Benicia Unified School District and what it takes to get into UC or CSU, or to be eligible, I shouldn't say to get in, to be eligible for admittance into UC, CSU. And the state of California is rolling out several new graduation requirements. We heard, the things in the top in the gray, those are current, and in the red down below are what is rolling in as new. We heard Ms. Kleinschmidt share with you the proposal for ethnic studies that is required to be offered next year, and it is required as a graduation requirement for the graduating class of 2030, and it needs to be at least one semester. In addition, the state is requiring a one-semester class in personal finance. It's required to be offered the 27-28 school year and required for the graduating class of 2031. That will be one of the choice points as we go through this, is if we want to roll it in earlier and what the pros and cons of that are, or wait until the requirement hits. The other thing that is not yet a requirement, but it is still pending out there, is AB 29-7, which is a year of computer science. And so we're still waiting on the answer for that. So what we are proposing is that we keep our English at 4 years, our math at 2 years. It is through Algebra 1. We call it Integrated 1 here in Benicia. We have 2 years of lab science. We have 3 years of social studies, which includes U.S. History, world history, and government. And the government is a semester of government and a semester of economics. I want to be clear, the economics doesn't go away as a requirement, but when the implementation year happens by the state, students, once they pass personal finance, have the option to waive economics. And that is a student choice. I did check in with the state of California. It is not something that the board can choose to deny. And then, as you've heard, we have 2 years of PE, and one of the choices, again, is if we are interested in creating an exemption, and there's 2 different ways to do that. We got more information after our last presentation, so we can do PE, marching band, as a second year of PE, and they would get the credit for that. And there's a course outline that matches if we wanted to go that way. Or marching band gets classified as an interscholastic athletic program, and there's some things that the teacher would need to do in terms of getting first aid, CPR, AED, but that is also allowable, so that came through. And then that would be an exemption. And I'll talk more about those as we go through. The other piece is to also, so one would be for marching band, and the other would be for one of our, the rest of the sports, the BHS or CIF sanctioned sports. And so the proposal embedded in here is to allow sports and marching band, color guard to either be credit or exemption for the 10th grade year of PE. The other piece would be bringing in ethnic studies for 1 semester, personal finance 1 semester, and what we are proposing is that we remove Get Focused, Stay Focused, which is our own local graduation requirement, because students' schedules will become very impacted. We want to be very competitive with allowing our students as much space as possible to pursue their interests and things that will make them competitive for whatever option they choose to do after high school. This slide, the next 2 slides really just show different formats of the implementation plan. And so you've seen this before. We would look at PE exemption option would be for the 10th grade year only. They would be able to take it one time. Marching band, color guard, same thing. Ethnic studies would be an elective next year all the way through, and it would be a graduation requirement starting. Our proposal is to bring it in as a graduation requirement for the graduating class of 29, which is 1 year early, but it would begin with the incoming 9th grade students instead of having it be with the year after that, because we have to offer it next year anyway. And then the same thing with personal finance. And so this one gets a little tricky. So personal finance, we would like to bring in next year as an elective and have it stay an elective. And then in the 28-29 school year, so again, it would be the incoming class of 9th graders next year, we could make it a graduation requirement so it aligns with ethnic studies, so the students have 2 new requirements, semester requirements, or it can remain an elective until the state requires it to be a graduation requirement for the graduating class of 2031, which would be the current 7th graders. So then we'd have 2 sets of graduation requirements moving forward for a couple of years. The thing I want to make really clear with the personal finance is students cannot grab onto that waiver option for economics until the state said it had to be a graduation requirement in 2031, even if we bring it in early. So if the decision is to keep it as a graduation requirement for the class of 29, so those next year's 9th graders would have a graduation requirement of ethnic studies and personal finance. Those 9th graders and the year after class would also have to take economics. And then the class coming up could choose to waive economics. Did that make sense? It was super confusing, but did that make sense? Okay. The other change that you will see in here is that currently we offer a 1-year course that counts as a student's 2nd year of mathematics, personal finance. That we're having conversation with the math department on, because once personal finance comes in as a graduation requirement, it wouldn't fulfill that math piece. And so we're looking at other options, such as a math, right now for students that struggle and may not just do a traditional route of math 1, 2, 3, they'll often do math 1 or 1A, 1B. We break up math 1 over 2 years so that students still get through 1, which is the graduation requirement, but they can take a little bit longer. We're looking at, and other schools are doing this, maybe breaking up math 2 if they want to stay on that traditional path but need something that's a little bit slower pace. That's a particular option that we're exploring to get there, to get students further through math. Does that make sense? Any questions there? This, again, is just another view of the same thing, showing you which class would the different graduation requirements would affect. And then I have the the actual policy attached here, but I added a couple more slides just to make it super clear so that there's a choice with personal finance, and one is which year do you want it to become a graduation requirement. So option A in the policy is that beginning with the 28-29 school year, the one semester course in personal finance would be a graduation requirement, knowing that the students will need to continue to take economics through the class of 29 and the class of 30. That's option 1. So beginning with class of 31, those students could choose to waive economics. Okay, option B is we wait, we have it as an elective, and starting with the class of 31 would become a graduation requirement, and they could choose to waive economics the same year.
If we go with option B, they can take personal finance as an elective.
If we have enough signups.
If we have enough signups. Okay.
Okay? It'll all be one semester, yes, yes. And, yes, so that's one option. And then the other option is around marching band and color guard. So the first option is students who participate in marching band and color guard for the entire year receive credit to have this course count as their second year of PE. So with that one, the next action item is course outlines, and we have a lot. Most of them are just updated, but one is a marching band PE course. If we don't go with option 1 here, we would want to pull that course off of the course outlines. Option 2 is students who participate in marching band color guard for the entire year can apply for an exemption for PE2, as we would classify marching band color guard as an interscholastic competitive activity. Okay, and the purpose again for this is to give some breathing room in student schedules, because they take 4 years, so that takes up 4 slots, 4 courses basically in their high school years, because most students will stay in band for 4 years. And so those are the kind of choices we need to go through as we approve the.
Is there like a practical, like the difference between a credit and an exemption? If it's an exemption, does it look what's the practical difference, I guess?
I think one is it's a great question. Nobody would frown upon, there's no requirement to get into college to have PE. So that's not one of the entrance things for UC or CSU. An exemption is just you didn't have to take it. The credit, the teacher doesn't have a PE credential, but would write the course to cover some of the PE standards. So it would be who would give the credit for it. They would have more, they would need to make up those credits if we didn't do the credit option with other electives, which most kids would be able to do easily.
Dr. Beatson, with the options 1 and 2, are we deciding on which option?
Because then.
Okay, so we need some discussion within the.
Right, on both of them, on which year you want personal finance to be a graduation requirement, because I put both options in the policy itself, and so then we'll just strike through whichever one you don't want to have.
So if we start with personal finance, we'll start on slide 9.
I like option B. I think it gives most freedom
on 9, I mean, on personal finance.
Yeah, I agree. Option A would be three requirements. Option B would be 2 until the state requirement kicks in. Correct.
Yeah, I like that better.
So do we vote on that? Do we vote on the options? So I'm a little confused with this.
I think are we done discussing, or does there need to be more discussion regarding option A and B for personal finance?
I think we're all in alignment on that, on option B.
Okay.
So we want to vote on,
I think when you,
No, I think
when you,
discuss another option.
Oh my God, I'm getting confused.
B/1?
We should
I think when
probably
we approve, I think we discuss both, you decide which ones you want, and then when you approve the board policy, you'll say you want option B for personal finance to have it start as a graduation requirement for the graduating class of 2031, and then whatever you decide about band. And then you'll just make that clear, and I will update the board policy when I bring it.
Okay.
So there's no further discussion on this particular slide? Do we need to move to the next slide?
So we'll go to PE and marching band, color guard.
I'm interested, Ms. Grubbs had mentioned, it seems like we're being corralled into only 2 options here, both of which reduce PE. People have been doing this, I've heard, people 0 period, but I mean, this getting rid of PE, it seems to me to be minimizing the value of PE as just some sort of movement thing. And as a PE teacher, you know, to admit, you know, it makes it feel like it's just not important. I get it. Hey, college doesn't care if you have PE, but as part of a well-rounded, you know, education, I think it's important. And people's health and their nutrition is important. And like I said months ago, the state only requires 3 years of English, but somehow that is sacrosanct. We're not going to touch English, and we're going to do 4 years of that, even though it's not required. But PE is cast aside. I don't like either of the options, to be honest with you. I don't see, if people have been taking marching band and doing the 2 years of PE and doing all the other things they've had to do and have gotten by, it seems like people just want to dump PE so they could take some sort of other elective or another AP course or something like that. And I get the concept of, hey, I want my college app to look super shiny and stuff, but I think there's a value to physical education and to health and to the nutrition. So for me, I can't, and I'm only one person, but I can't vote for either of those options on the marching band color guard. I think we're moving too fast on it. It doesn't, I mean, is this becoming something that has to be done now? Is this PE marching band thing, are we up against some sort of timeline with this?
I think the timeline that we're up against is that we're getting ready to do some choosing courses for next year and getting everything dialed in and trying to figure out what courses we're going to be able to offer our students. So, and that happens in January when we come back from the break. It's not our intention to devalue physical education. It's something that we value our physical education teachers. Again, the intent of this was to create a little more voice and choice for our students and offer them the opportunity to select additional electives with the additional graduation requirements coming into play. And I think the state offers that exemption because to students who are active, right? We're talking about CIF doing 2 sports in a year, athletes, and marching band. And I think you heard from some of the parents on how rigorous the exercise. So the exemption are for students who are actually active and moving in a school-sponsored activity. So our intent is not to devalue physical education. Our teachers do a phenomenal job. So I just wanted to put that on a record.
I'm curious as to why this suddenly became a thing. I mean, even at the state level. I mean, for years, people have been doing marching band, and they've still taken PE, and then suddenly the state decides, oh, well, I guess, you know, we'll give you guys options to get out of PE. when it seems like a solution looking for a problem. And the only issue from what I'm hearing is that kids don't feel like they have enough choices. But I don't see people getting rid of a year of English or a year of science or something else to fit it in. PE is the one thing that goes. And then, you know, to me, if that goes, when they want to fit something else in, what's next? You know, is it art goes away or anything that doesn't burnish a college application and, you know, which I get. It's hugely, you know, it's hard, you know, everyone's trying to get into these colleges, but for me, that's just my personal, and again, I'm only one person.
Sorry, I just wanted to hop in here. I'm having a hard time with this PE on either side, because I understand the side where the kids that are in the marching band want to take other courses and have an opportunity to expand their knowledge, you know, of the courses we offer. But then again, PE is taught with different modules that these kids may never have an opportunity to even know about without being in PE. It's a different, I understand that they're marching and they're working hard and they're breathing, learning how to breathe so that they can play their instruments, and I don't discredit that either. I'm just having a hard time, and I don't know, like, to Mark's point, can we, like, if we look at all the rest of the stuff on this particular item, not item, but on that grouping for courses, can we pull this one and have further discussion on it?
Is there particular data that you would like staff to collect to have further discussion? I guess we would want to know what additional information would you need to be able to make the decision? Like what data sets would we need to pull?
Like how many students would be are interested in that? I just feel like Mark was saying we're like pushing it really fast. And I don't want to, I just feel uncomfortable.
I'd like to kind of chime in here and say, I think there are very few students impacted, but also it doesn't mean that they can't take PE. It means that they have a choice. It is band and color guard are very rigorous. And yes, to both of your points, I understand it, and I agree with a lot of it. However, it doesn't disallow band and color guard students from taking PE. What it does, there was an example given that a student was having a difficult time getting his CSU credits in. So I just wanted to say that. It's not that they can't take it, but there is an option.
I just want to make sure that, you know, just some of the discussion and the data is on the table. To Trustee Grubbs' point, it's more voice and choice. So we can have color guard. They may opt into a different PE elective that we would be able to offer because that PE 10 course may not be, it's not a mandatory course. It may free up a section. I know that there's discussions at the high school of bringing in some net sports, badminton, athletic conditioning courses. So there's some additional physical education elective courses that we may be able to offer in lieu of that PE 10 should students choose not to take, are exempt from PE 10. So if they're exempt from PE 10, they can still opt into athletic conditioning, into badminton, or into advanced yoga or whatever, or PE, or even PE 10, yeah, or whatever courses that are offered. I think it's just, I just want to just make sure that we're clear on why we brought this forward. As we started talking about California increasing the graduation rates, we heard a lot of conversation about, wow, how are students going to be able to take electives? How are we going to fit that in? And previous meetings, there was a lot of discussion about that. So we did some research and we found an opportunity on how we're at least able to give students voice and choice into their programs so they can make that decision. Physical education is certainly important, but the folks that would be exempt from physical education are students who are very active in school-sponsored activities. I just wanted to just share that. And yeah, and they would just have the opportunity to either opt in or continue on or take an AP class, whatever that family decision may be. I know that we talked about English being 3 years, and why not just do a 3-year English requirement? You know, it's students who are going through the A through G, and that's kind of where we are in pushing that rate.
Theoretically, couldn't those kids take a 4th year of English as an elective, voice and choice? You know, the same concept that you're using for PE could be used for that 4th year of English, where it becomes not a requirement, which would loosen up. If you still wanted to take those English courses, you could, but you wouldn't, you know, it's like the weighting. Oh, well, hey, English, you know, you must do 4, but whatever with PE. I mean, that's the way it sort of feels, but go ahead, Amy, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk.
No, that's okay. Our strategic plan has English number 1, right? That's our number 1 goal. So I think that getting rid of a 4th year of English would not be in alignment with that. I also, I agree with Trustee Grubbs. You know, I think that the universe of students who might take the exemption or the class, whichever, is very limited. I also was particularly moved by a comment about a student with an IEP. That is a comment I've heard quite a lot, that our students with IEPs are not able to take the courses that students without IEPs are able to take. And I think that's pretty impactful. I mean, for me, I'm not sure the difference between a credit and an exemption. Like that, I'm not
clear on that.
what would be the preferred. I don't know if you have a preference or if there's any.
I think we would probably promote the exemption versus getting credit for it.
Do you know how many students would,
I have a small data set, which is for the current 9th graders, because those are the students that could choose to exempt if that was the option next year in band and color guard for this year. I don't have any historical data at this point, but for this year, there's 15 students, 15 9th graders that would be eligible to exempt the 10th grade. And we don't have the spring sports yet, but there are 15, I understand there are 15 students in the sports arena that would be, that did fall and winter, but we don't know about winter and spring. So there may be a few more students that do winter and spring, but there are 15 that have done 2 seasons so far. So we're not talking lots and lots of students at this point, but as I said, I don't have historical data on that. It may ebb and tide. The other thing, as Dr. Wright said, the PE department is having some conversation about other electives to bring in, and many of these students may choose to take it anyway. And we're looking at, is there a athletic conditioning or advanced PE or net sports that kids may be interested in taking as an elective versus a survey course or a general PE course.
What kind of reception did you get from the PE department to this concept at the high school?
Ms. Kleinschmidt, you had the last conversations with them? Did you want to have any conversation? We had one in-person meeting, and we had a lot of conversation, just like this conversation, and people were nervous at first and we were very clear. Our intention is not to lay anyone off, to lay off positions. That's not the intention at all. It's really about the student-centered piece of that. And after we had some conversation, people got, in the meeting, they were having some brainstorming around what else they could offer. And they said, one of the PE teachers even said, there's 80 students that are in a badminton club, and what if we could take that and make that an elective? So finding some student interest, and then I think you've had some additional conversation with them.
Yeah, I think within a week, they got me a course proposal for a net sports course. So I'm not sure if that's on today or in January, but we already have that new elective. And then also since then, with a lot of discussion, we're in the early planning phases of a course proposal for, yes, for an advanced PE conditioning, strength and conditioning for athletics, I think is the current title. And so I talked with the department chair today and, you know, just on timeline on getting feedback because we would want to, you know, advertise that, propose that for our students as well, because I think we have a lot of students interested. As part of this discussion, we have looked at that this year. We had about 80 students, upper level 11th and 12th grade students who wanted to take a PE elective, and we did not have space for them this year. And so when we look at numbers of, you know, maybe 15-ish color guard and marching band students who could have the option, as you were saying, that doesn't mean they would take it. You know, currently there's 15 ninth graders that are multi-sport athletes. I imagine that'll go up. Spring sports are pretty popular, and we want that, right? We want students to do multiple sports. And whether they take that option for an exemption if it's offered to them, doesn't mean they won't return to PE in 11th and especially 12th grade for those upper level PE electives to continue their training during school time.
So, it sounds like, can we get some clarification between credit and exemption? Thank you, Ms. Kleinschmidt.
Whether what's recommended from staff?
Well, actually, what the actual outcome is, like, if you have a credit, they can have a credit and have the course count as their second year of PE, or they can have an exemption for PE2 as, if band and color guard is classified as an interscholastic.
We're talking about physical education, and we're talking about what counts towards graduation requirements, not necessarily A through G or going college applications. So I don't know that it has an impact having an exemption. This either the PE credit is going to count towards the 220 graduation requirement, or there's going to be an exemption and they're going to have another elective course in their count towards a graduation requirement. So there's no there.
That's the way
There's
I
no there
understand
there.
what you're saying, is that the exemption, they would be taking another course in that spot. So
Right.
it's not like they're just not taking anything.
Right.
They're taking another course, so they're still getting units. They're just getting exempted from having to take the PE course.
I just want to advocate too that in addition to the marching and the physical activity that these musicians do, they're also reading music, they're also playing an instrument, they're also doing something in fine arts. So, you know, thinking through like, that could be an elective, that is a credit. They're not just physically doing something. And I'm not trying to say that other sports you don't use your mind and you don't use, you know, that, but I think reading music is definitely a fine art to consider as well.
So is there a consensus on which option? Or, help me out with how this is gonna roll, because are we gonna vote on marching band? Or each option? I'm not sure. Somebody makes a motion with the option. So is there a motion?
I'm going to make a motion that we approve with personal finance option B and marching band option 2.
So. Did you second that, Mark?
Is there a second?
We do need a second. So that seems to have failed. So, well,
Is there a second
is there a
amongst the board
second?
members?
Nobody's giving us a second here.
For option B and option 2, right? That's the motion.
Right. So it looks like for personal finance, we had a consensus on option B, correct? So for marching band and color guard, do we have a consensus on option 1 or 2?
I don't think you need a consensus, you just need a 3 to 2.
Okay. So there was option 2 and option B. Do we have a second? We have a first. We have a motion. Do we have a second? So moving along.
So it sounds like there probably needs to be a little bit more discussion about the marching band color guard option B.
Does somebody
Or-
want option 1 of marching band?
I do. I think that, okay, for both of them. I make a motion to approve option B in personal finance and option 1 in marching band.
I want to just ask a clarifying question. It says, students who participate in marching band / color guard for the entire year may receive credit and have this course count for their second year of PE. The may gives me pause.
I think it's because they can opt in. They can take PE if they still want to.
Okay, so,
Well, could Leslie answer my question?
oh, sorry.
Yeah, so it would be if they choose to have that, if they choose to not take PE 10, then they would get credit for it, because they would
Okay,
get credit from marching band.
okay. So,
Public comment?
can I have her come up now, or do you want?
Is there, I know that we're right in the middle. Hold on 1 second. I know that there was a thought on the table. Did we need to finish this conversation before we?
I think there's a motion.
There's a motion for option B for personal finance and option 1 for marching band color guard, but we did not have a second.
That's correct.
I'll second it.
No, she had a different motion. It never got a second.
Okay,
So now this, the one Yenny put up has a first and a second. First. And Amy second.
Georgina?
We'll let her do her public comment. Let's make sure she gets it in before we.
Yes, so before we vote, Ms. Grubbs.
Thank you. Before you start the time, in deciding on what to write down, I was asked to speak on 12D because it is a proposed course, but you guys are actually voting right now on C, on what's being proposed in D. So thank you for kind of taking my words now. So like I said before, my name is Kristen Grubbs, and I'm a physical education teacher here in Benicia. I'm here tonight to ask the board to reject the proposed course that is being labeled as marching band PE. On the course description, you will notice that there is a list of physical education standards that the course intends to meet. However, I would like the board to understand that there are many subject matters that have standards that overlap and are similar or are the same. Just because a class or subject might share standards does not make them the same. If sharing standards makes one subject the same as another, then anytime a student needs to use math skills to solve a science equation, they should receive math credit. Or anytime a student has to read, write, or analyze text, they should receive English credit. In those cases, we look at the main focus of the course and not the cross-content standards that are being met. The main focus of marching band is music performance, not physical fitness or exercise. While it does involve coordinated movement, marching, and sometimes carrying heavy instruments, these are all in service of creating a musical performance rather than meeting physical education standards. As written, the proposed course makes mention of the state required minutes for PE, which is 400 minutes every 10 school days. Saturdays do not count towards those 10 school days, yet Saturday performances and competitions are listed as one of the ways this course will meet the state requirement. It is also required that an appropriately credentialed teacher be assigned per ed code to give credit. If anyone with a teaching credential is deemed appropriate by this board to teach PE, what message is that sending to myself, my colleagues that went through the process to get a valid physical education credential, and to all the stakeholders about the validity and significance of physical education as a seriously valued and intricate part of the well-rounded education offered at Benicia Unified School District. I implore the board to see past the rebranding, renaming of what is truly just marching band, a music-focused performing art, and vote no on its proposal to be considered as a physical education elective as written. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we vote on each of these separately? Like, do we have to, I think, because you were, we can't, no, not, well,
But we do have a motion on the table, though, before we broke to public comments. I think we need to address that motion.
Right. Roll call.
Well, should we, so it was, what's on the table is option B, sorry. What's on the table is option B, personal finance, option 1, marching band color guard.
President Grubbs.
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch.
Yes.
Trustee Seda.
I don't know. And I can't abstain, right, on this? Then I'm going to abstain.
Trustee Maselli. No. And Trustee Manesi.
Yes.
So we have 2 yes, 2 no, and 1 abstain.
Oh, okay, no, but then I can say no. Then I'll go with no.
3 yeses, 1 no, 1 abstain.
If,
3 yeses.
Who said?
1 abstain, and 1 no.
Wait a minute.
Who voted?
Cece said yes.
there are 3 yeses.
There are 3 yeses.
Yes.
So we have 3 yeses, sorry, 1 no, and 1 abstain. Yes. So it passes.
So moving on. The motion. The motion passed, so.
I was just clarifying what actually passed, so I just wanted to make sure that I'm clear. So if we can just read out the motion that passed, because there was a lot of conversation on it.
I have it. Option B, personal finance. Option 1, marching band PE.
Thank you.
With yeses by President Grubbs, Trustee Hirsch, and Trustee Manasi.
Manasi. I heard Manasi.
Oh, I thought she said no.
No, Manasi.
So, moving on, 12D. Ms. Kleinschmidt, you are back up. Speaking about the consideration and approval of high school course outlines.
Hello again. All right. Thanks for bearing with us. I know this is a lot for our high schools and for Benicia High School as well with these courses, and appreciate your time. I don't have slides for you. I have a long list of course proposals that I believe you have all the links to view there as well. We are hard at work to get ready for our course selections for next year. We've done a lot of work to collect feedback from our students and our community ongoing as part of our WASC process, because as you might remember, we have our WASC visit in March. We do it every year with our site council survey and asking students what courses, and parents, what courses they might want to see at Benicia High School. And so we've collected a lot of information, probably more than normal. We also did a separate survey about our world languages that are offered. And so from that, we've brought to you an American Sign Language Level 1 class and a Mandarin Level 1 class as well. And so those are just the first, and then we'll continue to develop those based on what we're able to offer once we get course selections and hiring process and all of that. But wanted to get those first courses in front of you so that we're ready to proceed. We've also done some updating of courses with the, to be ready for the anticipated ethnic studies semester, personal finance semester. Ever since distance learning, there was actually something good that came out of that. We did a 4x4 schedule that year. And so our courses are, normally our year-long courses were semester courses. And a lot of our staff really enjoyed that. Our students, for some of the classes, it was a great fit. And so we looked at that model and to see if we could bring some courses to the semester elective option to pair with ethnic studies, personal finance, until those become graduation requirements, and then potentially continue that model just to give students more choice. It's a little bit more like a college model than a year-long elective. And so we've updated our Intro to Art. That's currently a class that's for 9th graders that pairs with Get Focused, Stay Focused is one of the options. It's just updated for you so that it's available all the way through 12th grade. Same with creative writing. That's been a year-long class in the past, and the teacher was excited to offer that as a semester option, more choice for students. We have a brand new course that's a semester-long elective called Intro to Audio Engineering that comes out of our CTE digital media realm, the teacher who does our live streams and podcasts and all that fun stuff. We've brought you the course outline for personal finance based on what on our current course and next gen standards. We've brought you the year-long marching band PE course. And then we've also brought you several course outlines for our performing arts. And that's because we were very lucky this year to hire a new teacher, Nikki Clark, and she has a CTE credential. And so with that, we need to update our courses to reflect that they are now part of a CTE pathway. They are 50% or more CTE standards, which I would argue they always have been. We just haven't had a teacher with that credential. We also had a really great meeting this week with Christine Manny at Solano Community College, and we're working to articulate 3 of these classes so that students have the option to earn college credit in the future. And so those courses are the musical theater, which we currently offer, but now would be a CTE course. We currently call it Drama 1, but I have for you CTE Performing Arts and beginning acting or intro to acting for stage and film, hoping that that attracts more students, that it's not just the stage, but commercial and film and as well. And then the intermediate acting, advanced acting, which we hope to articulate, and then technical theater. We used to have this class, it was called Stagecraft. Nikki comes with excellent experience in technical theater, so we're excited to bring this back. We hope to articulate that class. And then last but not least, CTE Performing Arts Theater Production. That's a semester class. We offer that during 7th period, and that's our cast and crew of our productions. So all of our students that were just in Midwinter's Night's Dream, they're in that class 7th period and able to earn credit. And then our spring production, they do the same. And then I have for you AP African American Studies. Not sure that we'll be able to run that next year, but really just wanted to have that on the books. As we've mentioned previously, that can count and fulfill as the ethnic studies requirement in the future. And then AP Pre-Calculus, I believe you have there as well. And that is a course that's now offered by College Board. It is the same level of math as our current pre-calculus class. And so it's an opportunity for our students to have that weighted grade, take that exam at the end of the year to earn those credits within the same structure, essentially, of what we're currently offering. I think that's all of them. I might have missed net sports. Okay, I wasn't sure if you had that on your list. Good, good, since we just had a chance to talk about it. So a new PE elective that our teachers put together to focus on net sports, badminton, pickleball, all kinds of fun stuff. And that would be an elective for the 2nd year course, but can be taken 10th, 11th, or 12th grades. We've talked about that it could be great for early bird offering. It can be offered really any period of the day because it utilizes different facilities in collaboration with their colleagues. And so a new net sports as well. Do I really? Thank you. Oh my gosh, I didn't update my list. Thanks for keeping me on my toes. Women's History was put together by Kim Thompson and Morgan Jefferson, and is an opportunity to expand our electives within our social science department. We're seeing ethnic studies, we're seeing some other courses, and wanted to make sure that women's history was included there as well. It sort of inspired that course. And so that's, I think now, the last one that you have. Okay, sorry about that.
You did good. Principal Kleinschmidt, can I ask you about math?
Of course.
What happened to A, B, and BC?
We still have those. Those haven't gone anywhere. But I
Okay.
think there's been some confusion.
Yes.
So, and I think the confusion actually comes from pre-calc honors.
Is that A, B?
So, kind of. So our math pathway, once a student goes from integrated 1, 2, 3, and whatever, whether that's starting in 8th grade or once they get to 9th, a student who successfully completes integrated math 3 is going to have potentially a choice currently to move on to pre-calculus or pre-calc honors. Pre-calc honors essentially is August through November of pre-calculus, November through June of calculus AB, AP Calc AB. The students are able to then take that Calc AB test, AP exam at the end of the year. If for some reason they're not successful in that, they can retake Calc AB the following year without really a penalty on their transcripts. If they're successful, they move on to AP Calc BC the following year. And so it's not clear in the title. We're having a lot of discussion around that, and maybe we make it a semester of pre-calc, a semester of AP Calc AB to help clarify that. But that's ongoing discussion that I might be able to bring back to you in a month or two.
No, thanks. I was just confused.
It took me a little while and a lot of discussion also, yes.
Are there any other questions or discussion on the,
all of these sound amazing. I'm just hemming and hawing on making a class, an actual class for marching band to get PE credit. That's the only one that I'm having, and I'll continue to say I'm having problems with. I mean, everything else, I love all these new things that you have added. I just love the wealth of information that we'll be able to disseminate to our students. I mean, it's wonderful. Things that we didn't have when we were younger. And I also know that we expect a lot of our students. Like, our students are very busy with education and the number of credits they need to take. They're very busy, and some of them may be working, some of them may be doing, other things. And I'm also worried, I mean, I guess these are electives, so they're going to be a choice for the students, not a mandatory thing. It's just putting choice out there.
Correct, which is what our students and our community is asking for
Yes,
in
right.
large numbers. And I was glad to see that within that, they were asking for personal finance. They were asking for other languages. They're asking for more opportunities like that. And I can speak to the marching band PE class a little bit, because I know that there's been some question about the credit piece of that. The one thing I would add to the conversation is, let's say we have a student who moves out of Benicia or transfers to another school their 11th or 12th grade year. If it's a credit-bearing class, they keep that credit with them to fulfill that when they go to that other high school, who may or may not offer that same credit. Or they might move to a high school that does have a similar, as we've heard, there's lots of other high schools that offer that in different ways. So that would be maybe one piece to the credit part, because I know that was a question, a difference there.
And we're okay with staffing the marching band with a non-accredited PE teacher.
As we've researched, it would be a choice of the board to do that. And it would potentially open up sections for these other PE electives for students.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I have a question. How many of these would require us hiring new teachers? I know the languages ones.
Yeah, definitely the language, but there's been a shift in our interest from French to potentially to other languages. But yes, and we've already started by posting that to make sure that we're going to be able to get some well-qualified applicants and held interviews today, actually. So we're moving through that process so that we're in a good place should we need to be. Otherwise, with some of these current electives, especially the performing arts, those exist, so we're updating them, right? The intro to art exists, we're updating it. There are a few that if we get good signups for that, it would shift. So anytime a student picks one elective, maybe they're not picking something else, but we find year to year that those numbers do shift, that student interests do change over time, and definitely with different classes based on their size also. So we'll have a different year next year with no longer having Get Focused in a semester elective in 9th grade. We're going to see a major shift in our 9th graders in terms of what they sign up for a year-long elective. And so that will change some of our numbers just from doing that. And then by offering more and different electives, some teachers will change, maybe add a prep to what they're doing to be able to teach another class. The great thing is that these came from teachers wanting to teach those classes and add them to what they're doing.
That's great. So I understand correctly, we're hiring 2 teachers.
I don't know if I can speak to that.
Does that imply this, though, that we would be hiring an American Sign Language and a Chinese Mandarin teacher?
No.
Oh, okay.
And we posted both positions because those are difficult teachers to find sometimes. So we wanted to see if we can find a qualified candidate in either sign language or Mandarin.
And then I would add, it depends on what students sign up for, of what the need is. And likely it won't be a full-time, we might have a section or 2. So it depends on what's.
Hiring a teacher, your 5-period, full FTE, probably not. I mean, you'd want to find people that were, and that's hard too, to find people that are willing to work a couple hours a day. Right. So I wouldn't think it'd be 2 full-time people. It might equate to like 4/5 of a person if you had 2 sections of each. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you. Does this need to be voted on as a group? Like all of them together?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes. It does. Is there any other discussion or questions? Is there a motion? Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
I'll second it.
And roll call.
President Grubbs.
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch.
Yes.
Trustee Seda.
I love the courses. I just want you to know that, Ms. Kleinschmidt, and you've worked really hard on this, but I'm going to have to say no.
Trustee Sully. And Trustee Manassi.
Yes.
So the motion passes.
So moving on, 12E. The consideration approval of Benicia Unified School District criteria for California State Seal of Civic Engagement. And, yeah.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Nice to see you.
It's very nice to see you too. Probably be ready to say goodbye to me. I'm very excited to bring this to you. It's something we've been talking about for a few years. It's an opportunity to engage and celebrate our students. It's the State Seal of Civic Engagement. I think of it similar to the state's biliteracy seal for students who are able to demonstrate biliteracy, whether through classes or proficiency in home language to an academic level, as well as English. Or the state also offers a Golden State Merit Seal for students who achieve at a certain level in their classes and on their assessments. The State Seal of Civic Engagement, I think, takes that even a step further to encourage students to get involved in their local community and beyond. I'm not sure who my clicker is. Thanks. Thank you, Dr. Beatson. So this is an award given to public high school graduates who complete criteria. But what's interesting is that the state requires that the board set that criteria. And so I have a proposal to you, and I've looked at lots of other districts to see what they are currently doing and what's working well to sort of synthesize that and borrow their best knowledge and thinking. How this is done is that students demonstrate excellence in civics education and participation by working towards and advocating for meaningful solutions for their community or for a social problem. It's quality reflection of the student activities and their growth. They provide a testimony of relevant student activities from their staff and their mentors. And as I mentioned, based on what the district approves for that criteria. And it all is submitted to a state portal. And they review that and then make that decision and send us the list of students who have qualified based on that criteria. And then we're able to put a seal on their diploma and award them and recognize them. Civic engagement has 7 major components. Thank you. Political involvement, social responsibility, community research, association involvement, direct service, philanthropic giving, advocacy, and education. And those are all pretty important as we think about our education system, and especially our juniors, our seniors getting ready to graduate and become part of our community. And so the next slide just talks about why should students do this? What's in it for them? Definitely they should be acknowledged for the work that we're doing. We've had students currently doing amazing work, volunteering for congressmen and senators and local politicians and being on youth organizations and part of different organizations, tons of volunteering and work in the community. So we want to acknowledge them for that. It'll help them to be more competitive for college, for resumes, for jobs, for scholarships. And we want to help them start their career of giving back to the community. I had the opportunity to take 8 seniors, and we had a seniors helping seniors event at the Benicia Senior Center, partnered with Elliot Palmer with the city of Benicia, and our seniors got to serve them lunch at their holiday lunch, and it was wonderful, and it was a neat little glimpse into what could be with doing something like this. We want them to be acknowledged for making change at the school and at the community level, leave a legacy for other students to follow, and then develop and strengthen their leadership skills. And beyond just the leadership classroom, that's definitely an awesome group of students, but to see that there's leadership opportunities beyond that. And then our teachers and administrators would support students in doing this because it highlights the work that's happening in classrooms, and it celebrates their actions within clubs, which our staff are often club advisors, and helping them find and do a lot of this volunteer work. So students create a portfolio and submit that to the state's online portal, and they have to complete what I would submit to you as 5 criteria. So this is the part to be voted on. The first criteria is to be engaged in academic work in a productive way. They would demonstrate that with their grades, especially in their social science classes. And then their attendance as well, of course. They would need to be on track to graduate with their diploma or their certificate of completion. Also, the second criteria is to demonstrate a competent understanding of United States and California constitutions, the functions of government, tribal government structures and organizations, and so that goes back to the classroom learning as well and being able to demonstrate that. Criteria 3, participate in 1 or more informed civic engagement projects of their students' choice. So it's got voice and choice in this as well. They need to have real-world problems, identify and inquire into civic needs and problems, consider different responses, take action, and then reflect on their efforts. And they would then write that up as a reflection, show evidence of that work. Criteria 4, demonstrate civic knowledge, skills, and dispositions through self-reflection. So they have to do a little bit of writing to do this. And then criteria 5, exhibit character traits that reflect civic mindedness and a commitment to positively impact the classroom, school, community, and society. That's done with a letter of recommendation, a letter of reference from a mentor, beyond just a staff member. So they really have to get out into the community and do some work and gather that recommendation letter. Yeah. The next slide just is an image of the portal itself. And they move through that to submit the different components of how they've met the criteria. And then the school, of course, would validate their grades, their attendance, those pieces. And then finally, with your discussion and hopefully your vote tonight, we look forward to the opportunity to celebrate our students and encourage them to get involved and be part of our community in this way.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I have a couple questions. Yes, I have questions. How do students learn about this?
Very good question. So we would plan to put it out in the newsletter, email, counselors would present it to the students. We have grade level Google Classrooms. Really, we would blast it everywhere to students and to parents through their social science classes, everywhere that we can. If we were to have the opportunity to have this approved tonight, we'd be able to start in January. Yeah, so our current class of 2025, would actually have the opportunity to do that. The timeline's pretty tight, but it opens in January, and then they finish that process in March and April.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do they complete everything in their senior year, or is this something they work on?
They don't have to. So that's why I think it's important we communicate it out to everyone. I would love for our 9th and 10th graders to think that's something they want to do someday and be thinking about that. They can complete this in 11th grade, and they would still get the actual seal on their diploma in 12th. They'd have to wait a little bit, but yes, they would still be recognized. Yeah.
I just want to say, I think it's an awesome idea to do this, to get kids early to explain all that. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Is there any more discussion or questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the state seal of civic engagement.
I'll second.
Excuse me.
President Grubbs.
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch.
Yes.
Trustee Zeta.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Manasi.
Yes.
Oh, and I think you are
Thank you,
released for
yes.
now. Thank you. And Ms. Barrington, sorry, you are up on the first interim financial report.
Good evening, Governing Board and Dr. Wright. Coming before you tonight is the 24-25 first interim budget report. I would love to. I apologize. Hey, so in our graphic, we're almost halfway around our annual cycle. This is the first official report coming to you from the adopted budget. The budget was adopted in July. You saw a revise in May based on the governor's actually adopted state budget. Unaudited actuals reporting out last year came to you in September, and now your official report of how we're doing in the current year and the budget that you adopted in June for July is this report here in December. Legally, this report has to be presented to you. It reflects the financial position of the district as of October 31st with projections for the rest of the year. You have to certify it, and that certification gets submitted to the Solano County Office of Education. And the report in total was due by the 16th. It's typically due the 15th, but because the 15th was a Sunday, it was due to SCO on Monday the 16th. Pending certification coming from tonight's board meeting. So it was submitted timely. Okay. Our first interim budget indicates we have a positive certification. And what that means is we can meet our financial obligations in the current year and the 2 subsequent, meaning we will be able to pay all of our bills and have the required 3% reserve that the state mandates for the definition of positive. So to provide you with an overview, I thought it was important to first start with our district's enrollment and ADA trends because this is the main driver of our funding. As you can see over the 10-year period, we have had a decline in enrollment within our district. We've also had a decline in students attending. And because we are not funded based on enrollment,
but rather ADA. It's important to highlight here for you that even if our enrollment had grown, but our ADA didn't, we'd still see an impact to our revenue. I do want to note for those of you looking at this slide, the one peak in 2021 of the percentage of ADA is because the state did not collect it during the COVID closure. And so our enrollment decreased, but our ADA looked similar to the year before. So it's an invalid peak. That doesn't really indicate that our students during 2021 were that actively attending. It just wasn't collected data. Last year in 23-24, our ADA percentage was 93.94. We've had a lot of attendance campaigns and a lot of credit to Dr. Ovick. Our ADA percentage this year has been hovering around 94.7. So we hope that when all of our reports come in through December, through this month, and we report next month to the state, that we stay at that. That's good for us because we have seen a decline in our enrollment. But if we can keep our ADA at or above, that kind of helps mitigate that decrease that we've seen in our enrollment. Another important part to talk about is COLA. And so when the governor adopted the budget, he added in and approved the 1.07% COLA to the local control funding formula, LCFF revenues. And that COLA was given to other revenue sources, but I'm focusing right here on the base part of our LCFF funding, which is a majority of the funding that the district gets. And so the state adopted a 1.70% COLA. However, what our district here, Benicia, actually saw was a negative 2.63%. So we did not realize the increase that would have come along with that state adopted COLA. Rather, we lost it and more, and there are many factors that go into that. One is our enrollment. Our enrollment from last year to this year has actually declined. And second, the whole, you see in the funded ADA column, the hold harmless from the COVID times with the 3-year average, the larger years have dropped off. That's that funding cliff that everybody talks about. So we no longer have that. We're projected to be funded on the current year ADA, which means we're better than last year's ADA, but we don't have that 3-year protection. So we lost twofold. We lost what would have been the increase, and our ADA is less. So instead of seeing a $500,000 increase to our revenue, we realized a $1.2 million decrease to a major source of our revenue. Are there any questions on the COLA? Okay. So this is really important because COLA is to fund increasing expenditures that happen on the natural step-in column, a PERS increase, medical increase. And so when we see a decrease, but our expenditures still go up, then we have a deficit spending problem. So, sorry,
I do have a question on the COLA.
Yes.
You were specific. Do we know how the state is doing yet? In terms of the state, yeah, like what the state COLA?
So the Legislative Analyst Office came out in November and said they think next year's COLA, because they have most of the factors, unlike in previous years when they kind of deferred when you had to pay property tax, looks like it's going to be less than they projected. So it's currently projected 2.93%, but they're thinking it might be lowered to 2.46%. Could go lower. It's hard to know. But most of the factors are in. So it's more likely that we'll see when the governor's budget comes out, closer to that 2.46%. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so for the revenues at first interim, we see an enrollment decrease. So the budget you adopted was projecting that we would have 4,400 kids, that we'd actually increase in our enrollment in the district. What we actually see is we did not realize that increase, and we're actually slightly lower than last year. So we have fewer kids that came into the district this year, including the additional TK bandwidth we have. That kind of masked how much further the decline could have been. So it's something that we are actively watching and monitoring. Our funded ADA is also moved to what we call, quote, current year, because that's the higher ADA between this year and last year, as well as last year or the 3-year average. So we now drop to that current year, which is great if your ADA is increasing and your enrollment is also, because then you would technically see more revenue, but we're not in that environment. We just don't have the protection anymore. Our unduplicated pupil percentage dropped slightly to 26.01%. It had been in the budget at 26.46. This is the factor used to determine supplemental funding and if we would be eligible for concentration. Concentration funding requires 55%, so we're vastly away from that. But if the percentage goes down, that's less concentration factoring in. Okay. It's a graphic of our revenues, both on the restricted and unrestricted, just to show you that a vast majority of our revenue is directly driven by our student attendance and enrollment in the district. We do receive some federal, some state, and some other. And this is just this is a graphic available within the LCFF calculator that is used on the business side to determine what we believe our funding will be, and then we actually get certified by the state. So it just kind of breaks apart the different chunks within LCFF. When I talked to you about COLA, I focused mainly on the base and the grade span part, because that's a large majority of it. We then get supplemental. Every district gets supplemental. It's 20% of the base based on your unduplicated. We do not get concentration. We do get TK add-on for the TK we actually have, and some of the 12-13 original award level stuff that's in there. And we get the original add-on home to school transportation. We have not seen the additional that came along that comes in separate, because our expenditures historically have not been high enough. But I expect to see, after last year's increase in transportation for special education moving into this year, we might see it moving forward. So it's an additional percentage that you get as a reimbursement to offset your transportation that comes separate from the LCFF, but is still in the general fund. So how do we look compared to what you approved as the budget going into this year? For LCFF, you can see we have had a decrease in our funding, and this decrease is slightly different than the dollar amount we talked before, because this is the whole LCFF funding, but it is down due to our enrollment change. On the federal revenues, we have a slight change, and that has to do with we qualified for Title III funding, which has to do with our English language learners. And then the remaining spend off of our CSI funding that Liberty had. For state revenues, the change is mostly made up of carryover funds we have from CTIG. You get awarded, and then you have more than a year to spend it. So it gets deferred when you close the books, and then you bring it back in, so it makes it look like an increase. But it is there for the program to spend. There was Prop 28 carryover. There was a lot that went into trying to put Prop 28 in motion last year. So some of that is, and Dr. Beatson is doing an amazing job tracking all of that. And our special ed mental health and preschool, the awards, they can fluctuate, so they came in a little bit higher at this point. On the other local revenue side, we were awarded some E-rate. It is a small amount. And then the SCO, Solano County Office of Education, their special ed program has to zero out after each year. So once they close the books, if they have any remaining funding, because they're funded up front, it goes back to the districts in the same manner it was collected by the county office. And so we as a district did get this one-time money back that will offset, hopefully, increases that we will realize in our special ed program this year. On the expenditure side, the budget needed to be updated to include the negotiation settlement that happened for 24-25. 1.07% was put ongoing on the salary schedule, so that needed to be built into the budget, as well as the additional $95 per month for the employee-only medical cap. So our employee-only, we have options, the Low Kaiser and some others, that fully cover a full-time employee for their medical. Reconciliation of vacancies needed to be done, so anything through December was removed from the expected expenditures because it's already happened, and so it shouldn't remain there, but the remainder of the year did for the positions that are in the budget that could be filled. The Consumer Price Index, CPI, on our goods and services, it was in there at around 3%, but just keeping that because, you know, our utilities have gone up, and the cost of some goods is greater. And then we are required to set aside 3% of our budgeted expenditures for our routine restricted maintenance account that's on the restricted side, and that's to maintain our buildings and facilities. This is a graphic of both the unrestricted and restricted together. As you can see, the vast majority of our expenditures are for our people serving our students, salary and benefits. This is the whole budget combined. On the unrestricted side, 92.36% of our unrestricted expenditures are associated with salary and benefits. Typically in a district, you see between 80 and 85. Ours on the unrestricted side is a little over 92%. For the entire budget as a whole, putting the restricted side in, which some of it is one-time positions attached to one-time funding, it goes to 86.7% of our budget is made up of salary and benefits. So how do we look compared to the adopted budget? You can see the changes that are reflected here. Salary and benefits, there is an increase in the budget, and that's due to position control update and then putting in the negotiated settlement that we discussed a few slides back. For books and supplies, the real changes have to do with bringing into the budget one-time carryover for the items you see there because they get deferred and you don't budget for what you expect to be left over. You bring it in the next year to spend it. For services and other operating, this is typically where we see our increase that's associated with special ed contracts for positions that are difficult to fill, as well as spending one-time carryover in those items that you see there. So a majority of the difference is one-time funding, one-time expenditures. And then in the capital outlay, it was a one-time purchase that was required for our PE movement dance equipment at the elementary level. And because it came as a large package, it had to go into that category as opposed to the books and supplies. So that's why we see that there. This is to highlight for you, how do our contributions look? And so we have some contributions that are absolutely required to fund the restricted side of the budget. There are two of them. Special education, because our state and federal funds are not sufficient enough to fund the programs that we have to provide, and the routine restricted maintenance, where we must set aside 3% to maintain our buildings. So for special education, you can see that it went down slightly. And it went down slightly because of that refund we talked about earlier from the SCO program, as well as some adjustments that happened to the main source of funding we get, the state funding for special ed. The contribution did not go down by $200,000 because there has been some increases. You know, we had the negotiation settlement and such that had to be built in also. The routine restricted maintenance is adjusted to match the 3% required based on our adjusted budgeted expenditures. The solar contribution is the same. That goes to pay for our solar lease. And then there were some small adjustments to contributions we need to make to our Title I and Title II programs, as well as the acronym that I put in there, and I didn't define for you, I apologize. It's the Classified Summer Assistance Program. So our classified staff that are not full-time, that have a certain wage amount, can set aside money each month that has a state match to it. When the budget was adopted, there was a contribution included, and you're not allowed to have that in the program, so I needed to remove that. So with all of this together, this shows you how we are impacting our ending fund balance, both on the restricted and unrestricted side. The unrestricted side, this reflects reserves of 10.06%. That's that $6.8 million there. And then the components below show that there's a non-spendable amount. We have some prepaid items we have every year in our budget, as well as our revolving cash fund. And then the commitments for the board. Board policy to have 1 month of payroll set aside, board commitment towards books for the 24-25 year, and then there's board commitment of carryovers. Most of that is tied to the unrestricted but restricted thing we call the LCAP. So it's on the unrestricted side, but you can only spend it for what's in the LCAP. So if it's not, doesn't look like it's gonna be fully spent, it's not unrestricted that's up for grabs, it's unrestricted, restricted. Not sure why they did it that way, but that's how the state runs it. And then the reserve for economic uncertainty. So that's the required 3% reserve the district must have to have that positive certification. Okay. In addition to the general fund, the district has a number of other funds that it must maintain that have very specific restricted purposes. Fund 08 is ASB. This is once a year the district must post how ASB is occurring. We have ASB at the secondary level. We have some donations mixed in here at the elementary level, but we're working on fixing that and getting that out. We do not have established ASB at the elementary level. They have specific donation accounts. We do have Fund 11, which is adult education. Fund 12, which is where our CDU is, our child care. Fund 13 is our food and nutrition services. Fund 14 is an old fund where we used to put some of that additional over and above the 3% routine restricted. We used to put some in deferred maintenance. We do not currently have contributions there. Fund 21 is the bond. So we have sold off part of our bond, and that's what's funding the construction going on. 25 is developer fees. Those rarely come in. We don't have housing growth, but if somebody expands their property greater than 500 square feet, the district does receive that. Fund 35 is, that's the state match for construction program. So as that actually comes forward, we do receive funds, and then we move them into match Fund 21. Fund 40 is an additional reserve account for capital outlay projects. That's where we currently have technology in some of our solar. 51 is the bond interest and redemption fund. The district doesn't get to touch this fund at all. This is the county treasurer. They move the payments and the interest on behalf of our Benicia residents. And then Fund 73 is private trust. These are scholarship funds that were set up and have really specific prescriptions. And again, the district cannot touch that. They can only disperse it as required. All of those are positive, which you want to see. You don't ever want to see a fund that's negative, because then you have a financial problem. So in addition to the current year, it's required at the first interim to provide multi-year projections for 25-26 and 26-27. You can see the assumptions here that are being used. The top row is the COLA. That's the one I highlighted that is likely to change in 25-26 and 26-27. I suspect that both will go down. So that will affect our revenue projections. It will reduce our revenue in those out years, causing the deficit spending to be greater, potentially. Also, here's our projected enrollment. We're being a little more conservative. We do expect, because there is one more TK age band that comes in next year, and we do have some similar student levels at each grade that we think we might grow a little, but this is not as aggressive as what was in the budget, because we haven't realized the huge influx of TK students. Along with seeing that we're projecting to remain funded based on current year ADA. We always will have that protection for prior year, but current. And then so on. PERS does adjust. STRS right now, unless there's some sort of legislative change, will not. And then consumer price index. Step-in column, we use 1.5%. And the Medicare, Social Security, unemployment insurance, and workers' comp are all required mandatories to our salaries that the district must pay. None of these things we can opt out of. Classified. Classified staff pay into it. Our STRS staff do not. Yeah. Our lottery, the state has the projections to be at the per ADA amounts you see there. Based on how people play the lottery and how our ADA is going determines what kind of supplemental funds we have. Restricted is spent on textbooks. Unrestricted has a little more flexibility, but is used to support our sites. And then the mandated block grant, that's to pay us for everything the state requires us to do that's unfunded. It doesn't in any way do that, but it's to offset that cost. And then routine restricted maintenance is 3% that excludes what they call the STRS on behalf, which is the state requires that we record a revenue for STRS on behalf of the state and an expenditure. The two wash, but it helps the state meet their maintenance of effort. It's not real revenue we receive. It's not real expenditures we have, but that's why we don't have to have a 3% routine restricted maintenance contribution based on that. Since LCFF is our biggest funding source, this is highlighting a little more the revenue assumptions in the out years. Again, noting that COLA, if it would go down, goes down, the per pupil growth rate will go down. These are the same funded ADA figures and the impact that has. You can see that as it changes, there's not a lot more per funded ADA that we will receive. And then what it looks like the net change in our LCFF funding might be year over year, which will, in the 2 out years, decline if the COLA declines, but could increase if our ADA rises above 95%. So I know they're working really hard on our attendance campaigns and capturing everything we can with our short-term independent study. Our sites are doing an amazing job every time somebody calls in with that. So taking a look at this with both the revenue and expenditures on the unrestricted side, you can see what our beginning balances were for each, projected to be for each year. The revenues coming in, expenditures going out, as well as the contributions to the restricted side. And the district is projected to deficit spend to the tune that you see here and how that affects the ending balance on the unrestricted side. On the restricted side, similar, but deficit spending is expected when the state provides you a set of funds up front and you have a multi-year plan. You don't necessarily want to see it on the unrestricted side because that is lowering your reserves. Okay. So this is a summary of the components of ending fund balance and the impacts that our projected incoming revenues and expenditures will have. You can see that over the next 2 years, we expect to see, if nothing else changes, our reserves to decline from 10% to 7.24% to 5.33%. We are still above the state required mandate of 3%. What happens is we can no longer meet the board policy for the 1 month payroll set aside commitment. So it eats into the commitment, but we do maintain our positive status. So some considerations for the future is the district's continuing to monitor our enrollment, watching our ADA. We're having rich conversations about our staffing, how we're deficit spending, what we may need to do. We have one-time funds that are ending that we won't have funding for in the future. Our reserve levels, given our strategic plan that stated to work towards 15%, we still need to continue to work on that, as well as our general fund contributions. Some things we have control over, some we don't, but the best we can do to cost contain would reduce the amount of contributions to our special ed and categorical programs. So that's really being looked at. Some of it we just won't have a choice on. We have to provide the services that our students come with. As the next steps, the governor's budget will come out in January. In January and February, we are deep into budget planning and discussions, and then you will see your second required update in March that is a reflection of the budget through January 31st. Are there any additional questions or anything I didn't answer that you need me to highlight, would like me to highlight?
I have a question. You mentioned that there was a certain percentage of reserves that is needed to ensure that we're with board policy of 1 month payroll. Where does that put us, like in the percentage of reserves? Is that 5%, 4.3?
So we need to be at 8% or higher to meet our mandated reserve for economic uncertainty at 3%, and then 1 month of payroll, which hovers around another 3 to 4%. And then we have the non-spendable. Those percentages you see there do not take into account the restricted, because that cannot be part of it. That has a specific set of rules attached to it, and has to be used for that source.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Barrington, in the beginning of the slide stack, there was you had a 3-year projection, correct? And that we are able to meet our obligations for the next 3 years?
For the current year plus 2 is
Okay.
what we're always required to do.
Okay.
And that's how you get to determine if you're positive. If you're qualified, you can meet 1 or 2 of the 3 years, but not the third. And then if you're negative, you can't meet your obligations in any of the years. If you're negative, that's when the state comes in and takes over.
So in your projection, maybe going out to year 4 or 5, do you see a scenario where we would not be able to meet our obligations?
If nothing changes from current, that is what would happen with deficit spending. It would reduce the amount of reserves we have and potentially bring us below the required 3%. We would no longer have the option for the board-directed commitments.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
It has nothing to do, I mean, it's just the bigger picture, sorry.
Is there a motion to approve the first interim financial report?
I move that we approve the first interim financial report.
I'll second.
President Grubbs.
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch.
Yes.
Trustee Zeta. Yes. Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Manassi.
I'm going to abstain because this is my first meeting.
Policy packet updates as presented, and Dr. White, you are up.
Yes, these policies were presented for review at the November 7th governing board meeting. Staff brings them forward today for approval.
Any questions?
No.
Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the California School Board Association board policy updates for July 2024 and September 2024.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
President Grubbs.
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch.
Yes.
Trustee Zeta.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Manassi.
Abstain.
We just H. H.
Consideration and approval of the 2024-25 facility fee schedule. Dr. Wright?
So if you remember back to May 2024, we brought forward the facility fee schedule. It's something that we hadn't updated in decades. I don't know how long, but it was a long time. And we approved that fee schedule. And we're going to launch it in January 2025. But before we finalize it and put it forward, there was a couple of adjustments that we wanted to make, particularly with a couple of fields. So the Liberty High field, the Benicia High fields, we used to charge a daily rate of $40 a day, and we increased it to an hourly rate. And I think it was an oversight. And the rate that we have on there is going to really price our user groups out. So I did another study. I looked at some comparable districts, and we wanted to lower the price a little bit just to make it competitive. It was never our intention to price anyone out of using the Liberty fields or any of our other fields. So we brought that forward. And also, there's a line item on the facility schedule where you'll see campus supervisors highlighted in yellow. That was a rate and a fee that we charge, but we wanted to be transparent and make sure that we itemized it so our user groups can see it when reserving fields. So those are the recommended changes that we have for this particular meeting. I do want to say that we will probably bring this schedule back in January because we want to also itemize the use of the tennis courts. Right now, it's just, I think it's being charged with the gym costs, and it's a different rate. So we're going to bring that back in January, but we don't want to delay the approval of what we're bringing forward today.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, questions?
I just had a question because I had a community member contact me about this, and I think you've answered the question, but I just want to clarify. I had somebody from one of our local teams contact me and said that the new rate would be completely out of reach and that it was going to be adjusted back to an hourly rate. Maybe it was a daily rate.
Was there a particular, was it for the field?
Yeah,
the
for
field?
Liberty and Semple.
Yeah. So it is still going to be an hourly rate, but it's going to be a much lower hourly rate because when we approved it back in May, it was $40 an hour, and right now what we're proposing is $25 an hour for the elementary and the Liberty fields.
Okay.
And that's very much comparable with our surrounding districts. So
Okay.
it was an oversight on our part in May.
No problem.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve, or for the consideration and approval, I'm tired, sorry, of 24-25 facility fee schedule.
I'll second that.
President Grubbs.
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch.
Yes.
Trustee Seda.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Manasi.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Dr. Wright, you are up again for the early notification of retirement incentive bonus.
Right, and this is something that we offer annually, and it gives us the early retirement notification incentive, gives the district an opportunity to plan for the following year. If our staff members notify us by January that they're going to, if they plan to retire, we offer them a $1,500 bonus for that, and that helps us with recruiting and planning for the following year. So we're bringing this forward for board for consideration this evening.
Any questions, discussion?
Standard.
Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the early retirement incentive.
I'll second.
Roll call?
President Grubbs.
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch.
Yes.
Trustee Seda.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Manasi.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, and on to our last, 12J, approval of resolution number 24-25-20 for increase in compensation of board members. Dr. Wright.
Okay, Ed Code allows for the governing board to receive a 5% stipend increase annually. This will bring the stipend amount from $264 to $277.83. Let me repeat that, $264.60 to $277.83 is a total annual increase of $793.80. Staff is bringing this forward for recommendation and approval from our governing board.
Any questions or discussion?
What is this normal in terms of like in our other school boards in our area?
It's done by size, and depending on the size of your district, they have scale.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Who moved?
Oh, I thought you did, Mark, sorry.
No.
Is there a motion on the floor?
I'll do a first consideration of Resolution 24-25-20 for the increase in compensation of board members.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Trustee Grubbs.
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch.
No.
Trustee Zeta.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Manassi.
No.
And motion passes. That brings us to the end of our meeting. Our next meeting in 2025 is Thursday, January 16th. There is a change of time on the 16th. We'll be meeting in closed session at 4 o'clock, open session at 5 due to BHS open house. And we would like to wish everyone a happy holidays and a restful vacation for our hardworking staff. Thank you so much.